All right, we'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. If I could have roll call. This will be our July 1st Town Council regular scheduled meeting. It's starting here at 7 o'clock. So have roll call, please.
Shannon.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Handy.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Edwards. Here. Vasas. Here. Day.
Here. Great. First item is our Pledge of Allegiance. We have the Troop 1882, where we have two members that actually have received their Eagle Scout Award, Austin and, as we know, Ian, that did the great job of putting, Justin, sorry, right, that did the Eagle Scout project here in town with the banners, the military banners. Along with them, we have Ellis, Scotty, and Fisher. So if we could all stand and we'll let them.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Scott, salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2. Return to ranks. Forward march.
All right, thank you all very much. Also, who would be giving our invocation is Reverend Ruth Ann Sawyer from Haymarket Baptist Church. Maybe you can also just tell us a little bit about the church, how things are going there, and then lead us into prayer. Thank you.
Sure. The church is in its 125th year. We have a great generational history at that church. We actually have our homecoming coming up in September, where we have two preachers ago. Dr. Dallas Stallings is going to be coming and preaching with us and sharing God's message. So things are good. We have a full preschool again with waiting list. We have 308 children that are registered with a waiting list, and that happened in about 6 minutes or so in February. So we're very blessed with a full enrollment too. Are there any prayer requests tonight? As we get started.
Also, if you could keep the Aiken family in our memories and thoughts as well.
Absolutely. All right. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Hey, God, it's us again. I ask you to hear the prayer requests that were spoken and unspoken just now, and be with those messages that only you know. Father, it's ironic that we come to you during this week as we celebrate our Independence Day in this country, and as we get to celebrate the freedom of eternal life that you give us every single day. Father, I thank you for this group here. I thank you for the residents that have come out, and for our town council, especially for our mayor and our vice mayor. I ask you to be with the town staff. I especially ask you to be with our police department, for Kevin and Jeff, for Corey and Jake, for Bill and Randy, for Lonnie, for Tim and John, who selflessly give their lives in courageous encouragement to our county, to our town, to our residents, through no selflessness of their own. Father, keep us all safe and happy and together. And the decisions that are made tonight, Father, as you've passed down biblically, is that we are supposed to honor and obey our authority. So please let those decisions be in your will as we make this prayer in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, just a couple things on our agenda here. I'm going to move our citizens' time up before the presentation, and also we're going to add the letter from VDOT to our agenda items to be able to talk about the proposed 2020 paving that will be going through Washington Street in our town. So besides that, I'm going to go ahead and welcome our president from Haymarket Hotel Ventures. We have Bill Murray and Ryan here to give us a presentation, citizens' time. Apologies. I'm already scattered. So here's the time for our citizens to come up and speak. Apologies.
We waste no time. Joseph Passanello, 6895 Track Court. First, a big shout out to Officer Corey O'Neill and the HPD in support of ALS research in memory of Debbie Aiken. Let me get my glasses. I ran into former Vice Mayor Steve. The last few mornings, Kathy and I have run into him walking around the neighborhood. And this morning we saw him, and he was very appreciative of what you all did for him and for Debbie and for research. So kudos. Haymarket Hotel LLC. I guess that'll be an interesting presentation. I was hoping to see that before commenting, but as with Melodon, I hope we're not going to hurry on this thing. I hope we're going to do our due diligence and take our time, because nothing's happening down at that site, and I don't want to see the same thing happen here. A hotel in the middle of center of town, in my view, does not fit. It does not align with our vision, does not align with the comp plan, does not align with the zoning. 65 feet is way too tall. Perhaps something shorter, I don't know, that embraces the historic nature of our town. All the other questions, with the little information that's been available to date, traffic impacts, parking spaces, noise and acoustic impacts, visual impacts, and on and on and on. Our question is, who's encouraging this development? Okay. One other comment was about the ARB censure at your special meeting. It's another June and another censure. This year's censure, the ARB members in attendance on June 19th at their meeting. I believe the citizens of Haymarket have a right to know why their elected and appointed officials have been censured. Council has the ability to inform the public of the reasons for this punitive action. You can vote to reveal what you discussed in closed session if you choose to, and I think you should. Why not do so in the interest of full transparency and due process? They deserve due process. I didn't see it when I watched the video, and I think it's shameful. Thank you very much.
And thank you for your comment, sir.
Maria Turner, Fayette Street. I want to thank Emily for her efforts that resulted in the demolition across the street, as well as ongoing efforts with other properties. I don't understand why these property owners can't just do the right thing. If not, they shouldn't be given any special consideration when disposing or selling of the property. The dust hadn't even settled, and there was a zoning text amendment for this property. Years ago, Louis Bloom wanted to develop the heart of the town, but was rebuffed as residents didn't want buildings with a lot of height in the center of town. He had a Borders book type style on the one corner. The text amendment is now requesting a height variance for a hotel. Why do we need a hotel in the center of town when there's an option behind Chick-fil-A backing up to 66, which is where it should be? Where will staff and visitors park? I hope that with the rejection of the funeral home, that the Planning Commission and Council realize that the residents of this town want storefronts with businesses that they can walk to, not a hotel, as most residents can accommodate their visitors in their own homes. I urge the newer Planning Commission and Council members to familiarize themselves with what we have said for the last 20 years. How many know that the storefronts on the Winterham property were supposed to have condos above and not apartments, only to have them turned to apartments when they couldn't sell them? How many know that the 2 units closest to the Winterham building were to be handicap accessible via elevator, but following the building official's error with allowing electrical panels on the end, they were given a pass, but were obligated to have all units accessible if the sister building is built? With a historical change like this in our past, what's to say that a hotel might not end up being an extended stay type or even apartments if things don't go well for the owner? Please, and it makes me uncomfortable that many on council have their hand in real estate in some way or another. We want businesses that we can walk to for shopping and eating, that we can frequent more than twice a year like a dentist or a doctor. We want businesses that serve our community. Thank you.
And thank you for your comments.
Dottie Leonard, 14801 Washington Street. And I'm also going to speak briefly for the Citizens Group. On behalf of the citizens, there are a couple of things I want to address. One is to thank people for the progress, for painting the outside of this building. It's starting something somewhere. I've discussed my mature age in the past and my less than perfect health. So I made a comment to the mayor that I was glad I wasn't going to kick the bucket before you all did something to the outside of the town hall. And I appreciate anybody's input and involvement, whoever was involved. And until we can afford it, I liked what everyone said. So did the other citizens who gave input to me. They liked that you discussed paying off the debt first and doing what you can with what you have, but not running up a huge debt. But as soon as we can, we'd like this and the whole town to be dressed up and looking nice. On a follow-up to the ARB issues, I don't know what the previous speaker was discussing. I have in the past mentioned ARB issues that were not appropriate, and I thought that, and I was very careful to not use anyone's name specifically, but just too many things have happened that have been approved that just plain aren't appropriate, don't meet the historic overlay guidelines, and read all over this town, that red sign, red letters on plastic outside that building still bothers me and a lot of other people. Other people have complained to me about the historic post office, which is now Washington Street Realty, and our historic town hall, which is now the museum, being lit up all the time with various causes, and they think that's inappropriate for the most historic spot in town. They said, tell them to light up the town hall. If they want to light up something, it's not historic. So I'm telling you that. They want you to light up the town hall and not put windmills over there. Just didn't seem appropriate. The flowers in the planter box, I'm thankful that they're there. Citizens are thankful that they're there, but they don't think they're color coordinated. They're bright red flowers in dull red planter boxes that need to be power washed. So one makes the other look bad, and you can guess which is which. But we need to very carefully, the ARB needs to choose the plants that go in those planters. They need to be appropriately sized to that huge planter, not little tiny short things that are bright red, because red is not a historic color. Burgundy is a historic color. So burgundies, greens, yellows, blues, anything else would go with those planters except the red. When I served on and actually was instrumental in starting the ARB, and I get constant reminders from other people who served on that board with me that we had an architect to give us advice. And I would like to see us spend whatever little bit of money it would take just to have somebody show up for a meeting and let you all know what is appropriate, not you all, I'm speaking to our liaison, who's doing an awesome job, and I'm thrilled with you. It's not personal, and I'm trying very hard not to ever say anything personal, but there's a need for getting advice from a professional person when you don't know. And I know that we've said in the past, sometimes people were told, come back with something we like. And I've heard you correct people and say, we don't want to say that anymore. You have to come back with something that's appropriate. And that's why you need the, and I'm not nervous, I have Parkinson's, so that's why I'm shaking. And in addition to having someone advise there, it would be helpful to have them advise whoever chooses the plants. If you need other people to serve on the ARB who have served on it in the past, served the town in the past, who have experience, not me, but there are other people who would be willing to serve who have experience. And if you need help finding an architect who would give you advice at a reasonable price, I'll even help you do that. I'll help you find someone, because there are people who have done it and will do it. Now I'm going to speak for myself. For myself, I want to say, whatever we can do to make projects that are applied for, that fit in this town, approved, let's just do it. Do whatever it takes. If it's a hotel with a conference center, with a restaurant in it that people can stroll to, that's different than thinking of a big hotel. I don't even know whoever it is that's applying, but it needs to fit. It needs to fit here. It needs to look like it belongs here. And if it doesn't, when the pictures are presented, if they don't look like they belong here, I'll be screaming louder than anybody. I promise. I promise. So we need to approve what we can. Thank God and thank all of you, that that field is cleaned up, that those boarded up houses are gone, that people have been looking at this town for a long time, and they want to be a part of it. We're something special. There was a time that people would say to me, what are you trying to fix up, Dottie? There's nothing there. You're not fixing anything. There's nothing there to fix. We do have something to fix. We have those beautiful brick sidewalks. We have the street lights. But the last, and one more thing personally that the ARB approved, is the stone walls coming into town from from Old Carolina Road. Those are as modern stone walls as you could possibly have, and the ones up at this end of town are too. How they got approved, I don't know. The Blight Street, I've already brought that up, and I don't want to keep beating a dead horse. They're built, they're here. But you can make a difference, and if the ARB doesn't present it to you, the council, right, I trust, I'm going to call you Bond because you're still like a little girl to me, but I trust Bond to take the right message back, that we will have things presented that are worthy of being in our town, and then you don't have to worry about people sponsoring it. And in my memory, when I was on the Planning Commission, the rule to allow condos on the second and third level up to, I think it was 45 feet then, and now it's 50 feet. That wasn't because they couldn't rent them out. It was because it was a good idea. It was a splendid idea. It's done in Leesburg, and historically, it was done all over this country. People had businesses on the bottom floor, lived up above them. It's all over the place. So it fits historically, and we can all debate the height of the building, but the idea is good. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you, Dottie, for your comments.
Bob Weir, 6853 St. Paul Drive, and I'm glad Dottie might be yelling louder than me at some point in the future. And I'll hold you to that. I'm going to align myself with Mr. Casanella's comments and quite a few of Dottie's comments. I came here tonight to speak at Citizens Time without a script, without anything prepared, because I expected to have the presentation by the hotel people first. I find it curious that Citizens Time has moved before it. The cynical side of me suggests that's being done so that you can squelch any sort of public comment on it, and therefore I'd really like for you guys to reopen Citizens Time after that presentation. But in case that doesn't happen, I'm concerned. You guys initiated a ZTA 10 days ago. Why it couldn't wait till this meeting is beyond me. Why you spent several $1,000s for additional meetings ostensibly to get this ZTA through and on the way to the Planning Commission bothers me from a fiscal sense. But again, the thing that bothers me most about this is it looks like we're engaging in a rushed process yet again. You're taking on a ZTA that I don't think's even been reviewed properly for form. Seems to me it would be hard to do in the mere matter of days between the time that it arrived here and you had the meeting a week later. That kind of rushed processing of land use applications has to stop. You did the same thing for Meladon. And now here we are. It's being amended and reworked for probably the third or the fourth time for issues that were brought to you by the public and you ignored. And now they're coming back so that you have to fix them. So I'd really like to see this presentation and comment it when I've got some facts in my mind, but I'd also like to see some sort of administrative process with regard to looking at what other jurisdictions do with respect to height in different districts. I know what the ZTA language says. I know what the explanatory paragraph says. And I can tell you that the explanatory paragraph is wrong because I've already done the research. Thank you.
And thank you for your comments, sir. Anybody else like to speak? Yes.
Good evening. This is my first town council meeting.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Yes.
I'm Amy Moore, and I live on 6751 Fayette Street. The speakers before me were already eloquent, so I just kind of echo some of those concerns. Anytime as an historic town, if we're looking at changing something to 6 or 7 stories, and I haven't done all of my research, I'm just kind of going off things that I've had the time to look at. Again, I echo many of the concerns that other people were great about speaking about. My other concern is a safety concern, somewhat related to that. I walk my dog around the block every week, and there are places on Jefferson Street that are very unsafe to be a pedestrian. I'm sure the chief is aware of that. I have contacted through Facebook Messenger the town about that a few times when there was a property owner on the corner of Payne and Jefferson that had overgrowth, which made it hard to walk on the teeny tiny sidewalk that already exists smack dab next to the road. Beyond Payne Street, the rest of that block that comes up to Washington Street, of course, has never had a sidewalk.
Okay.
So my concern as a citizen who likes to walk around town is this block in general. The front, obviously, Washington Street is safe. There's no sidewalk on Payne Street. Maybe that will never have one. But the side of Fayette and the side of Jefferson, those sidewalks should be improved. I know there's a sidewalk on the opposite side of Fayette, but it would also be nice to be able to walk on the side of Fayette that has what we lovingly called the now demolished gray house that was the Groundhog Hotel. So thank you for your time.
And thank you very much for coming out. Anyone else would like to speak at Citizens Time? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and at this time close our Citizens Time. Our next item is our presentation. Welcome, gentlemen. I think we're all anxiously looking forward to hearing from you, hearing who you are and why you're here tonight.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, staff, chief, citizens, this is America's democracy at work. It's thrilling to hear the comments of the citizens here because of their engagement and involvement. We think that makes this a reason we want to be here. As citizens spoke tonight, over and over, we heard things that were check boxes for us in terms of what our plans are. I think you will feel better after this conversation tonight. There's no agenda to putting you, ahead of us. We're here as long as it takes tonight, because at the end of the day, while we are not currently citizens of Haymarket, we feel like the fella on Andy Griffin who showed up in town and already knew enough to know who everyone was and be a part, because we're not coming here to make money only. We're coming here to make a difference. And to do that, we have to be a part of this community. So we heard things tonight that are very understandable. What are you going to do about noise? I can promise you this will be a very quiet hotel. Someone mentioned that it might become an extended stay hotel, or that it might even become apartments. It could become a prison. It could become all sorts of things. That's not going to happen. The chief, the first night he met me, said, this isn't some extended stay of America, is it? Some type of hotel that would cause problems for he and his officers. No. Our goal is to put a hotel here that you will be proud of, and to put a hotel here that will be economically viable for 50, 60, 100 years. We want to be protecting this hotel with an amendment down the road in the future. And we want the ARB to be protecting it. So I'm honored with my business partner, Ryan Morgan, here tonight. I'm Bill Murray. I'm one of the members of Haymarket Hotel, LLC. Someone mentioned tonight, who put you up to being here? Us. We put ourselves up to being here. And Ryan will tell you more why in just a moment. Because his family is from here. And he identified this as a place that could benefit from a hotel of this caliber. And Miss Dottie, you spoke, in your talk tonight, which was extremely eloquent and meant the world to us. You spoke of things that were meaningful to the town. Could it be a conference center? Would it be?
1 second, please.
Yeah. Bill, just a little housekeeping. You can just keep the comments coming up to the
sorry.
dais only. Yes, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mayor.
No worries, no worries.
In the process, we are trying to build something that will, A, be a reason that the residents of Haymarket will want to come to the hotel many, many times a year. Not just once or twice. We think that you're going to want to be here for all of your events, your gatherings. We want you to walk over and have coffee 3 or 4 times a week, to come and plop your laptop down, in our restaurant area and work with our high-speed internet. We are counting on each and every citizen in this hotel, in this town, being a part of this hotel as part of their daily life. The first thing that we attacked when we started working on the entitlement process was traffic. And traffic is really, really critical to us. We do not want to come here and be a burden in any way. And we wanted to make sure that we were not going to present something to the town that would be a problem. And so the traffic engineer immediately came back with some comments from VDOT and to lay the groundwork for us so we would know what we were up against. Their comments were, we don't want entrances in and off of Washington Street. We love that. We don't care that there's an entrance on Washington Street because we want to see the beautiful sidewalks that you referred to, Ms. Dottie. We want to see those things in a continuous process, along Washington Street. We know that, Jefferson Street is a very congested street. We think we come with part of the solution tonight. It is very likely that the recommendation and the eventual result will be the addition of a third lane on Jefferson. We will be giving up almost 10,000 square feet of our property in order to make that happen. That will make it unnecessary for residents to have to cut through on Fayette Street because now Jefferson will be a much more usable location. One of the residents very eloquently said, we need more sidewalks, especially on Jefferson Street. It is a hazard. We agree totally. We believe that sidewalks will be required as part of this easement that we do for the third lane. Anything that we can do to make Haymarket's downtown and historic district more walkable, makes our hotel more economically feasible. And it makes it have a higher chance of success. For someone who said that, this hotel might go away, I personally have been in the hotel business 37 years. It is extremely rare that a Hilton hotel goes away. It just doesn't happen if they're A, put in the right place, and B, are continually maintained to the level that they need to be maintained. And that's why we are here. So I'm excited tonight to talk a little bit. Ryan's going to talk additionally. We will try to address all of the concerns that have happened so far. I'm sure there will be lots of discussion and opportunity for questions. But as you see it right here, this is currently the design of the hotel, and this is very early in the process. We are just getting started. For those of you who say that we're rushing this, we're only rushing it because we don't want to see what is happening with the project behind Chick-fil-A. We want to move expeditiously and as quickly as we can. And ladies and gentlemen, we were a part of that project. We should already be under construction. But because of site constraints that we could not resolve with the existing developer, we could not build this hotel there. We could not fill a parking lot with dead-end driveways and zones. We could not make it happen. But for your review tonight, I'll show you. This is what the hotel basically looks like. Now, it's going to change in whatever ways that the Architectural Review Board, the council, the planning and zoning folks, whatever tell us. We're here as an open book to say, what can we do? Now, a lot of people have said, okay, this is going to be a 6 or 7 story hotel. We've never said that. We do need 6 stories in order to make the scale work, in order to have the really neat, coffee and juices and smoothie area that you walk in off of, dual entrances on Jefferson and Washington. To make that happen, we have to make the scale work. For you to want to come and have dinner in a fine restaurant, not just another hotel restaurant, but a restaurant that people from all over Northern Virginia are going to want to come because they've heard of it and they think it's a special place. That allows us to create jobs that are not just jobs. These are jobs that will be career opportunities for the team members that work here. Someone mentioned, what about where are the employees going to park? Believe me, parking is one of our critical concerns. It's reaching that sweet spot where the number of guest rooms matches the right number of parking spaces. An employee is never going to have to park anywhere else. We're not going to ask them to walk 2 blocks on a hot 85-degree June day, and work in a sweaty uniform. We're not going to do that. You see patio space, it will be walkable. You'll be able to, enjoy outside on beautiful days. We even plan to bring that outside indoors. And so this gives you some representation of what it would look like. Ryan, I may need you to advance for us. Let's see. Hold on a second. I think I will do this. There we go. Who we are. My name is Bill Murray. I'm a 37-year veteran of the hotel business. I've done well over 200 projects in my 2 jobs that I've ever had. I started my company in 2003. We've been doing hotels all over the United States. We were chosen as a Hilton, not only approved vendor, we were chosen as a recommended vendor. We've been fixing hotels all over America and Canada for 16 years. I met along the way Ryan Morgan, who became one of our employees. Ryan literally was a lottery pick at our Washington, D.C. hotel. They brought me 2 resumes and said, "Who do you pick?" And when I looked at the resumes, I very fortunately chose this gentleman. Ryan will do anything and everything in order to make it right. That's what we're here. Our other partner is a gentleman in Birmingham, Alabama, who is a multifamily home developer. And so he is excited about being a part of this and learning more about Haymarket and what we've shared with him. He's been blown away. He toured the town in May and came back even more excited than ever. We already have all of our capital stack in place. We are rushing only because we are with a very limited contract across the street. We started out down the street, and then we looked at what we were going to have to do. We might end up by the hospital, we might have anywhere, and we found out this site was available. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a dream site to us because A, it is in the town center, because B, it has tremendous potential in terms of bringing tourists to Haymarket to experience what this town offers. And we are excited about that. I have, under my current organization, done 199 hotel projects. I have done 2 that are very, very similar. And they have outstanding ending success stories. On the left, you'd see the Tutwiler Hotel, built in 1914 in downtown Birmingham, Alabama. And we went through all of the same processes to assure everyone in the city of Birmingham, from every citizen to the mayor, that we would do nothing when we made that a Hilton hotel to take away from the historic charm. Our argument then, as it is here tonight, is that national affiliation gives this hotel the highest opportunity for success. The hotel on the right is the Hotel Telluride in Telluride, Colorado. I was tasked with the responsibility of making sure that that hotel met every requirement that the town put forward. And at the end of the day, and that project now is still the #9 Condé Nast ski hotel in North America. And believe me, the citizen opposition to that project was fierce. And I stood up in front of that town that night and told them, you don't know me from Adam's house cat, which is an old Southern saying, And at the end, the same people who were very concerned with just cause about that project were congratulating us on the anniversary of the opening 1 year after it started. I'm going to turn it over to Ryan because I probably talked too much at this point, taking up more time than you probably wanted to hear, but I'm very passionate about this. We come here tonight assuring you, we come here to be citizens of Haymarket, not external developers that are just going to extract value and walk away. That's my personal promise. So I'll turn it over to Ryan.
Bill, I just had one question. Just the terminology when you say capital stack, for most people, what does it actually equal? I mean, and and I think also how many hotels do you have that do? I know you had 199 projects, but yeah, if you could just quickly.
Mayor, the capital stack is all of the equity and debt that it takes to do the project. We have every bit of it lined up, ready to go. A lot of developers come in and they're doing a lot of work on the front end before they have those pieces in place. We feel it's very important that when we stand here in front of you tonight, and as we go through the entitlement process, that we already have all of the money lined up in order to do this project. We are just waiting to get, and do everything that we need to do to clear those entitlements and make it happen. This is personally, because a question came up at another time that said, this is Hilton Hotels, they have all the money in the world, they can do whatever they want to do. That's not true. This is Small Business America. I've been running a third-party management company for 16 years, and I've made a nice living from that process. And I've made a lot of money for a lot of other people, and I'm not complaining because I'm very happy with the lifestyle that I've had. This is my first opportunity to actually own a hotel and put all of that experience and knowledge that we've gained to bear, to benefit my family in the long run. I have a 15-year-old that has to be put through college. I have an 11-year-old that's coming right behind him. And so, we're here as capitalists in the idea that we, do want to make a nice living. But we named our company Purpose for a Living, Mayor. We think there is a greater purpose to what we do than just building a hotel and, making revenue. Besides all of the economic impacts that will happen for the city and for us individually, this building, we think, has a higher purpose. It creates jobs that create careers. It creates a reason for people to come and spend their dollars in this town as opposed to another town. And then it begins to benefit all the residents, too. If it's not a win-win for everybody involved, and that means, the citizens of Haymarket, the team members that work there, us as developers and the whole process, it's not going to be a success. We have no intent of letting that happen.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification there.
Good evening, council members, Vice Mayor Edwards, Mayor Leak. Why Haymarket? We can talk about where the project comes from, when it started. It'd be easy to say that it started in May of 2018, but it really started 12 years ago. My wife grew up here. As I started dating her, I came to Haymarket, and we're always looking for opportunities. And I was married down the road. My daughter was baptized at Holy Trinity down in Gainesville, and so as we kept coming back after we moved away from the area and came back, we were consistently staying in Gainesville, and it became apparent that a lot of the people at the hotel were coming to Haymarket, but staying at Gainesville. The tax revenue, the dollars that should have been coming to Haymarket were going to Gainesville and not coming back into the town. And so in April of 2018, my wife was back for a trip with our kids, and there was the Meladon sign up for the development over there. And instantly, we started the process of the feasibility. Is this a site? Is this site feasible? We're in a unique industry that all hotels share their data to an independent source. You can pull that data and you can see. And so we started the feasibility study. As we went through the feasibility study, we determined that it was. And so we got in contact in May of 2018, came and met with the mayor and the town planner, Emily, and said, what are the town's needs? And so we kind of had our marching orders. We went back, we started kind of laying the groundwork for it. In August of 2018, we started conversations with Meladon. Spoke with Meladon. We're quickly under contract on the land in Meladon at the Crossroads development in November of 2018. We were originally on the site that was designed for a hotel or assisted living center. Towards the end of 2018, beginning of 2019, the developer came to us and said, I have no traction on the daycare site. I can't make anything work over here. I need to move you over. So the developer moved our site over. We spent 3 months, 3 different civil engineers and our architect trying to make the site work. I mean, to the point that finally at the end of April, we came to an impasse with them. Parking did not work. It was dead-end parking. Hilton came back and looked at the site plan and said, it's not safe. Dead-end parking, you can't have it. The developer had 25% compact parking. we live in a truck and SUV world right now. You cannot have 25% compact parking for a hotel. Our guests would not have been happy. People that came to Haymarket would have been upset because of the parking situation at the hotel. There's nowhere to park. So as we came to an impasse, we were kind of not sure what to do. And as fate had it, in May, 2 sites came open. One site is under development in initial planning phases over at the hospital. And we found out about this site. And there were, we talk about purpose and the name of our company, Purpose. There was a purpose. And I hear, this evening that why do we need a hotel in the middle of town? I don't know if anybody realizes, but right next to us is the original hotel in the town of Haymarket. The Tavern and Inn is right next to us, and the reason that Haymarket sustained and is still here is because travelers came to the tavern and the inn. So I think it's fitting that here we are at the corner of Jefferson and Washington, across the street from where the first inn was in this town, and we have an opportunity to put up this fantastic project. So that's kind of how we got here. We spent a lot of time working with Melodon. I've heard the concerns. We have a hotel site over there. You don't. Unfortunately, the developer has made it impossible. The only thing that fits on that lot, and I think that this is also fitting, is an extended stay hotel. We could put up a fantastic extended stay hotel that fits it right at 2 acres, and it would fit over there, exactly what that developer wants. We don't think that's right. That's not what the town needs. It's not what the town wants. So that's kind of how we got to here on the project. This is the site. Everybody's familiar with the site. We have engaged local civil engineers, local land use attorneys, and local traffic consultants to take a look at it and understand what it would take for us to put a hotel onto this site. We have had those conversations with VDOT. We know what they're going to come back with. As Bill mentioned, we fully appreciate and understand that this is going to become a turn lane, and we think that that helps the town, that helps the viability of the hotel, feeds back. Sidewalks on Fayette and Jefferson. Again, I think that that helps the walkability of the town, and sidewalks all the way across Washington also continue to help with that. Architectural elements, that the outline is in the ARB. We're tasked with a pleasing blend of historic and new elements. That is the ARB guidelines. We brought the book to our architect and said, this is the historic significance of this site. This is, one, we've got the town hall, the museum in our site, and we're catty corner to the original inn and tavern. So as she went through the process, looking at the overlay, she built in several Federalist colonial elements into the design. These are renderings, so you can't quite see the fantastic detail. Hopefully you can see some of the insets, the soldier bricks. I mean, the stonework is absolutely fantastic. And we have this, not that there's anything wrong with this prototype. This is a beautiful building in a lot of places. But the building that we're looking at costs 30% more to build than this does because of the stonework. So we have spared no expense in bringing a fantastic looking building to this area. The question, why 6 stories? 6 stories has been asked several times. There are no guest rooms on the first floor. The original conversation in May of 2018, Mayor, what does your town need? Ryan, we need a conference.
Yeah, we had the hospital president basically saying we need a place closed for the families, the people that are going to the hospital, the doctors, the staffing. There's a great need medically for the area. So yes, it was that, and I think the conference room where we don't have anything around our area. In the places they do, they charge so much, But yeah, you'd have to go to a country club. But those were the 2 needs that we had.
And we wanted economic. Again, I was married here in the area. I know we had to go to a third-party venue and how expensive that was, and not having an option here in Haymarket. I hope that we address it. It's right at 2,000 square feet. We can do 200 people with banquet grounds in that space. We feel like that addresses a lot of the needs and opportunities in the area. 6 stories, 64 64 feet tall. I don't know if anybody realizes the steeple on the museum is almost 50 feet. It's over 45 feet, getting close to 50 feet. So we're at this point we're 14 feet taller, and I think we have a really good perspective of what that means. So as you're coming up Washington Street, here's the town hall, here's the museum, there's the top of the steeple, and you can see in comparison to the trees how tall the building actually is, and it's not significantly taller. There are trees currently on the lot that are 64 feet. There's a tree that's 60 foot over there, and so the roof line of the building is not significantly higher than that. Again, why we need 6 stories, 64 and a half feet? There's no guest rooms on the first floor. It's taken up by the amenities. It's taken up by the conference room. It's taken up by the business center for hotel guests. The restaurant bar, every time that we come back and visit family, where do we go to eat breakfast? I would love to have a spot that we could come out and walk and bring the family in downtown Haymarket and have breakfast with the family. There's just not options. And so having that spot, we have got a fantastic concept for a restaurant and bar that pairs local options. We're going to meet with local vendors, farmers. They can help us pair those menus. And so we think that it's a perfect fit for the town, for the community. Again, the easier option would have been to go outside of town and do a site at the hospital. It would have cost us 30% less. But having been here over the past 12 years, there's something special. There's something special with Haymarket. I love small towns. Main Street America, when we lived in the area for almost 10 years, and when we moved away because of my wife's job, we moved to a small town. We could have easily ended up in downtown Nashville, but we moved to a little small town called Franklin. It is Main Street America, and we take our kids out every single night. It's a walkable community. We're down there, and so I would love to have that feeling. With that, we'll open it to your all's questions. I'm sure there's a lot of questions, concerns.
Sure. So, for example, why don't we explain just the process, I think, because that's obviously, there's a lot of things that are going on. And Miss Emily, I hate to put you on the spot there, but as we get applications, of course, we're taking each of these applications on their merits. So why don't we kind of go through I guess there was concern about how we had the wording in our B2 and B1 and that ZTA of having this type of height would require a special use, and maybe you can kind of walk us through a little bit of there in the process of the applicants,
Okay.
Sure.
So kind of a little backstory here, an example that we all are very familiar with, Meladon, when they requested the hotel, they applied for an SUP for the height over the 50 feet. This was something that was allotted for in our zoning ordinance. In the height regulations of the B2, any building that would be over 50 feet, you applied for a special use permit. When this applicant came to talk to me originally, we had discussed this option of an SUP. However, through our discussions, we found that our B1 zoning district does not allow for the SUP to be submitted for a height to exceed 50 feet. So therefore, they are submitting the ZTA, so zoning text amendment, to request that addition to be added to the zoning ordinance under the B1 height regulations, that if they want to exceed a 50-foot structure, they may do so via a special use permit. So our town council meeting that was recently held, council referred the application, so it came in. Staff gave the initial review and put it on the agenda for referral. So in order to have the Planning Commission hear the ZTA and hold a public hearing, the council must first refer it. That action was completed, and we have coordinated with the Planning Commission so that the first public hearing will not be until July 25th. We have to publicly notice the zoning text amendment, put our staff reports together, get all of the documents aligned, and have that for the public. So that will be roughly 3 weeks out. And then following that, public hearing and a recommendation from the commission to the council. Then council will hold a public hearing. Again, we have to publicly notice for our 2 weeks. You'll have your public hearing, and from there, after a decision's made, if it's a positive decision, they'll go through the SUP process. If it's a negative, they can choose to go from there how they wish.
So there again, ZTA, and then an SUP for the height variance.
Correct.
Right. And then further down the line, I know that, in other words, there's opportunities for the public's input, each of these steps as an application, whether or not it be them or anyone else that comes in. There's this process already in place with the public notices, and whether or not it's 5 or 7 or 14-day notices, the back-to-back 5 days before the notice ends.
That is correct.
Okay, all right. So with that, I think just to if we could limit our questions of what the presentation that he has given to us, that maybe for clarification and everything like that, and if there's anything like, for example, the capital stacking, I thought I know, but I wanted to make sure that I understood what that actually means. So anything that either Bill or Ryan has said, that I think I'd like to open up the dais to hear.
I'm glad to start.
Sure.
I'm glad to hear that, and I know there would be more public meetings. I too would have liked to have had this prior to the public meeting tonight. But the fact we're going to have more public meetings is very important. So thank you for clarifying that. The restaurant that you're talking about, what are you looking at? Is it a restaurant and bar?
It is. So Hilton Garden Inns, by definition, have a restaurant and bar, and we're taking the prototype concept and we're stepping it up. So it's going to go from what their standard is to a little bit more of an elaborate version.
So how many days a week are we talking about the restaurant's going to be open?
For it's open 365 days.
7 days a week. And what type of hours are you looking at?
The restaurant itself typically closes at a Hilton Garden Inn at 11 o'clock. They do room service slightly later than that.
Sure.
Breakfast starts at 6.
Okay, that's my question, because this being a walking town, we have plenty of people that would walk that could. I wanted to make sure you're going to be open early enough if this is approved and goes forward.
Yes, sir.
So that's all I have.
Okay. Questions? Councilman Leake.
Thank you, Mayor. First and foremost, and Mayor, you can stop me if I'm out of line, but there was a comment made about folks in real estate who sit on different boards. And I just wanted to make sure that I disclose, per the Conflict of Interest Act, Chapter 31 of the Virginia State Code, that I do not have any conflicts of interest. Some folks who don't know all the definitions of what actually goes into that chapter. I do not represent Haymarket Hotel Ventures LLC. My broker does not represent them as well, nor does it represent the seller, nor do I represent the seller. As we can clearly see who the seller is across the street. It's not my brokerage, not my company, and I don't represent Haymarket Hotel Ventures LLC. I do not own any percentage in the company. You know that the threshold is $10,000 a year. I have not received any money. I will not be receiving any money from Haymarket Hotel Ventures LLC. I don't have a spouse. I don't have a dependent. I don't have a significant other that is receiving anything from Haymarket Hotels Ventures LLC. And overall, I do not have a conflict of interest with the seller or the prospect purchaser in regards to the site. So I just want to make sure that was on public record, that I don't have any sort of conflict of interest, even though of my daily occupation. From there, I have more comments than I do have questions, so I'll yield my time till you open it up for comments.
Well, first round, I think, with just questions for clarification and stuff like that. Mr. Banthi, any questions?
I don't have anything at the moment, and I will study furthermore, then if I have a question, I will question later.
All right, absolutely. Vice Mayor.
I don't have anything at this time. I think it's too early in the process for any of that, and I'm going to wait and see.
Okay, and just for
The shields.
okay, Thank you. So just for clarification, I'm looking for comments for clarification on anything they might have said during the process. Okay. Ms. Cavazos.
I don't have any questions or comments at this time about what they said. However, I do think that since the agenda was made public and that the citizens expected to be able to speak after the presentation, that we do open it up to their comments.
I will definitely entertain that. But, Councilman Day.
He answered the questions already for Steve. I have no further questions.
Okay, all right. Other thoughts? Did you have any questions for the council? I know that when you take this type of project on, I mean, probably help us walk through as you look at a project and what you all look for as far as the town and the process that goes forward. I mean, obviously, we've got a lot of different aspects of this particular project as you obviously have, I'm understanding, a contract purchase. And there's a lot of people that don't understand the logistics, I think, of, you know, how do you start something and how do you end with, like, the two, resorts that you represented there as well.
Yeah, great
Sure.
question, and, I think that addresses it's not a fast process. Again, we started this, 13 months ago. So we have our internal feasibility study that we kind of have to do to determine if a project's feasible. After that, we have to identify a site. As I said, we identified a site with Melodon. We signed a letter of intent to move forward. We had sent purchase sale agreements back and forth, and we just could not come to a lot that worked. And so when we identified this site, the seller is wanting to move very quickly. Originally, it was we enter a contract to purchase the land. He wanted to give us no inspection period time. That is time for us to do just this, to get input on it. He wanted, really to move the land. And so we negotiated an inspection period of 90 days. That's how long we have to determine if the project's feasible. That means, are we in a position to get entitlements for the project? Is it feasible? Is it something that you all want? If it's not something, that the town sees fit, then, that's what that 90 days is for. So, we signed our purchase sale agreement on May the 26th. So we're on the clock with the seller at this point.
Okay. All right. Other comments from the dais? Now I think I'll open it up for just any discussion other than clarification, if anybody wants to make any.
I don't have any comment. I'm just, I'm certainly on the fence. I'll just be upfront with that. But there's certainly, I'm anxious to hear from the public. I want to know what our constituents out here think. The plan that looks absolutely great, but the town input is going to be very, very important in my decision as well. So that's all I have.
All right. Councilman Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. So in regards to comments, I'll try to keep them as brief as possible, but I broke them down into some big sections as well as trying to take into effect what folks had spoken about during citizens' time. First and foremost, I'm glad that we have a small business owner coming in and trying to invest in the town. We always talk about wanting to have small business and not corporate America coming in and having a small business owner who wants to open a hotel. And some folks will sit there and say, oh, it's a Hilton, it's not a small business. Well, I would say you're incorrect just on the franchising side of it. Just like as we have Mr. Ward, who owns our Chick-fil-A, who lives in Haymarket. We have Mr. Bragan, who owns our Subway in town. And then we have Mr. Cartucci, who owns Foster's. And the list could go on and on and on. But the mere fact is that you have these large, well-known names, but are actually owned by small business owners as such, as folks have come in front of us today. B1 District, as some folks may or may not know, who's listening as well as who's in attendance this evening. Within our B1 District, which we revamped during our zoning ordinance rewrite, hotel is a by right use within within that district. It's something that the town saw as a need and saw as something that could be put within the B1 districts. Now, we have multiple B1 districts up and down Washington Street, from the far east side of town up to the west side of town. But this is a by right use in the zoning ordinance that we have written just here recently, back in, I believe it was 2017. One of the big things in the definitions that when we rewrote that B1 district that we wanted to talk about was it, and I'll quote it here, was provides primarily for retail shopping and personal services to be developed as either a unit or in individual parcels oriented to attracting pedestrian shoppers, tourism, and local convenience. Tourism is mentioned right in there. This is a huge tourism aspect to our downtown area. Some folks stated things about how we know it's not going to be turned into an apartments. Apartments are not allowed in the B1 district, so unless they did a zoning text amendment to allow apartments in there, that would not be allowed, as well as walking through what is actually as a by right use or even an SUP use, and apartments are not one of those. Some folks stated that we wanted boutique shops and we wanted storefront right up on Washington Street. We have to realize that as we look at the town as an overall project itself and looking at the vacancies that we already have in town, why do we think Winterham 2 never got developed? Unfortunately, the developer did pass away, but there was an approved site plan for 5 years. That could have went up, but the thing is there wasn't the need. Those needs are what we consider secondary and tertiary uses to large anchors. You want to revive a downtown area, you want to see beautiful development, you want to see zero vacancies and having small boutiques and shops, you need something that is going to drive that. Otherwise, there's not going to be something, there's not going to be those small business owners are not going to want to invest in a cafe and a small boutique and different things along those lines. They struggle when you don't have the use or that large anchor there. In this instance, that anchor is the hotel. As you go up and down Washington Street, I mean, we probably have 20,000 square feet worth of retail space that's currently vacant. All that can be found on LoopNet, which is open to the public to be able to search. I mean, we have a lot of current retail space that is vacant in the town, and the mere fact is because we don't have a large anchor that's going to drive that sort of business within there. I'm glad that we talked about traffic and street improvements. Obviously, we know that a lot of concern from our residents on Fayette Street is a lot of folks cut through and they try to beat that traffic light there on Jefferson. This will be a great opportunity for that Jefferson Street improvement, not just on the sidewalk side for the safety aspects of folks being able to walk up and down Jefferson, but also be able to have the turn lanes where we can stack those cars there. As the applicant stated, I mean, they're giving, Mr. Shannon, you can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but a turning lane on a minimum is probably 11 or 12 feet, most likely. 12 feet easily. On the smaller side, probably can go up larger than that. And then on top of that, they're probably giving up 4 feet for sidewalks and another 4 feet for curb and gutter as well as VDOT right away. I mean, so they're giving up 20 feet on their parcel to make sure that we can make those street improvements and continue this to be a small walking town. As they stated, it was about 10,000 square feet, I believe, so they're probably calculating, I mean, it's road frontage there, running lengthwise on Jefferson is about 275 square feet, so it's probably about 35 that they have calculated in there. But I'm glad that they looked at that. If you want to talk about traffic and talk about different things, traffic is going to happen no matter what the development is that comes in. We always know that. We always know that traffic is going to happen. But what you look at is what type of impact does each use have, because each use obviously drives a different traffic impact in regards to a daily trip count. If anyone is familiar with the different reports that have come in recently for different developments and not just Haymarket itself but in surrounding areas, a hotel is on the lower side next to a funeral home in regards to how much traffic is actually impacted within the town. It's a lower impact compared to what a higher use of a you could say anything from a convenience store to different by right uses that are already allowed. A restaurant that's allowed as a by right in the B1. I mean, we have to look at those in that overall impact to what would be the lower impact. And it's hard because a lot of folks say, well, we want you to put this here, we want you to put that there. Unfortunately, we don't own the property as a town. We can't tell the owner what they can and cannot put in. The only thing that we can do is we can put our zoning ordinance, which is the guideline for owners to be able to come in and show what they can put into an area. And that's why 2 years ago, we revamped our zoning ordinance to tell what you are allowed to put in as a by right use and what you're allowed to put in as a special use permit into certain areas. We have no control, and we cannot tell someone what they must do. That's not the government's job to tell someone, you own this property, you need to put a 7-Eleven here. That's not our job as a government. We there set the guidelines, set the ordinances, and from that, you allow the developers, the business owners to come in, purchase a property, and be able to develop their parcels based off what our zoning ordinance states it is. Most likely, I'm assuming this is probably going to have an underground water management system.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. So that, as some of our folks know, with some of the folks who live on that side of Jefferson and that side of Fayette, on the other side of Payne Lane, there's a lot of water runoff that comes from this property down there and shuffles due to the topography of Washington down to the railroad tracks. I mean, we all know it runs at a slant. So this will be able to, on the ENS side, this will be able to capture that water from running down and affecting homeowners and residents' homes there. Now, granted, that's going to happen no matter what type of development goes on the parcel, but it's nice to know that you're going to go ahead and take that into consideration. Biggest thing, no impact to schools. Obviously, with this not being a residential use, there's going to be no impact on the school side of things. Last but not least, we talked about Melon. If anybody does go to that website, as I spoke about, loopnet.com, you pull up the Melodon site, and they don't even have that advertised as a hotel. They have it advertised as an assisted living site at 2.2 acres, which is a bit misleading because when they came into us the other day, they put on a 2.08 acres on that thing that they made public to everyone. In my opinion, I don't even think that's a 2.08 acre. I think that looking at that site, even though it's just GDP and not a actual site plan, it's probably less than 2 acres, and that's why it's going to most likely push away any type of use over there. Outside of that, Mayor, I don't really have any comments. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions if anybody has any questions to the statements that I made there.
Okay. We'll continue on to Councilman Panthy. Vice Mayor.
Just a couple quick comments. We are a historic town. We have a more stringent historic district, and between Jefferson and Fayette, those buildings as set forth in all our documentation for the town are to be 1 to 3 story buildings, so as not to overshadow the museum and our history. And that was set up by design. And for me personally, the reason that I voted for the SUP to get the height down there was because it was at the back of that property, and the land and the topography of the land, and it wouldn't impact our view shed here on Main Street. So those are some very concerning things for me. I would like to also hear tonight from the residents that came. In looking at the agenda, it was said that I think that they thought that they could speak, so I think people made an effort to come. So
Like I said, I definitely was going to entertain that.
Okay.
So,
I'm done.
yep, okay, thank you.
I agree with what Susan said. We have a historic district here, and I trust that the Planning Commission will listen to everyone in the community, and I feel that the zoning text amendment should not be made. I think we should stick to what we have, especially in this area of town, and I think that although they said the hotel could not go in the other area, I think that that was a much more appropriate area, and that's why we approved it there. So I'm not for making any changes to the height restrictions in the town, and I do think that the difference between the tallest point of the museum and the tallest point of the hotel is a very large difference, and I think that driving through town, the hotel would be a huge difference in height from all the other buildings in our town. And I'm not saying that I would not be in support of a hotel in general, but as far as changing the height restrictions, I am not for that.
Councilman Day, you need to,
First of all, I want to say thank you for considering Haymarket for your project. And I just want to say that as far as I'm concerned, I think that's a great location for your project. I love everything that I'm hearing. And, devil's in the details, and we've got a long ways to go. But I love the idea, and I don't have anything I object to so at this point.
I think just for a little clarification, so just for the understanding, so by right, if you were to build that building, actually you wouldn't need a ZTA, you wouldn't need an SUP if this building was 50 feet. You wouldn't need all these other changes on our wordings on everything. So the difference that really we're talking about, as you see this one tile right here, to the left to that wall, that's 14 feet. That's what the difference that we're, just visually for the audience to know, that you have the ability to build this without having any exceptions at 50, and we're really talking about this possibility of this 14 additional feet that's literally splits this room in half. So that was the only comment. I just wanted a visual, because it is kind of hard to understand how that would sit on the lot. The things that I like about this this plan is the orientation of a building, that I think the fact that it doesn't, it leaves the museum alone. It has a, and I don't know how many feet a buffer that it is from the edge of the museum to the where that building would be, but it's I like the way that they orientated it. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's it. Any further?
Yeah,
Absolutely. I want to go back around.
VDOT will not purchase right-of-way acquisition. It's too expensive. I'm putting on my VDOT hat now, and I just don't believe VDOT would do any right-of-way acquisition. So the fact that you're willing to donate, that's huge. That street, here at Washington and Jefferson, in fact, I've had talks with Shelley here and the staff about what we can do from the VDOT perspective to try to make this less crowded, something with a signalization or whatever. I threw out before, I'd love to see a traffic circle there. And I think that would be major there. It'd have to be a good-sized traffic circle, not the size that's at Gilbert's Corner, but I'm just saying big enough to keep the traffic moving. I think anything we do there signalization-wise, it's going to be, tough during peak hours. I will say on the Fayette Street side, there's not too many people that in here or in town that would be more impacted than those of us that live down Fayette this way in Sherwood Forest, or the citizens on Fayette on this way. This coming out and onto Washington would be even more of a nightmare than it is now, and at times it's a nightmare now. But Councilman Leek brought up a good point, is depending on the type of businesses, it's not like that's going to be a constant flow of traffic. It's going to be periodic, and that's kind of major for those of us that live on Fayette, on either side, that want to try to get out onto Washington Street, because for us on this side, that's the only exit. At least the folks on the Fayette have two, but this one's not the best option down at this end. So I will just say, as I said, I still want to hear, and I'm glad that the mayor's going to entertain a motion to open citizens' time back up. I think that's important. But that turn lane is huge. It's really huge for us in this town and for the people traveling through here. So,
Right. And maybe you, Ryan, that you might know this. I'm sure that you've probably done some type of early study. So with this type of hotel, is there a traffic indicator as far as how many trips are will come in and out of the building?
There is.
Yeah.
The traffic consultant's first look at it was, it didn't even hit the threshold for VDOT to request a study to be done. So we have volunteered the data. So at first, it didn't even hit the threshold. The maximum car count per hour, if we took it at the highest use for a hotel, which we don't believe it is, there's different uses between leisure and transient and corporate. We took it at the highest factor with 78 cars at the peak hour. And that's on the extreme high side because we wanted to cover ourselves to make sure that, we used, our consultant used the highest factor for making sure that we didn't trigger the VDOT study.
So is that per hour, or how does that break down?
That's the highest trip during the peak hour.
Right, okay.
So that's not 78 cars per hour. That
Right.
means the peak hour would be 78 cars.
How many rooms are we talking about here?
It's 126 rooms.
126, okay.
So to break down that 78 per hour, that's 1.3 cars a minute.
Okay.
Well, that's what I said. Traffic-wise, I'm not overly concerned about the traffic, except for those of us that live somewhere on Fayette. There's going to be some issue, but not, I don't think it's astronomical, though, with this type of business.
And if I could address a couple of...
Sure, no, absolutely. You've probably heard some of the things, absolutely.
Yeah, so the first is, it's not a 2-acre site. The redesign over there, it's not 2.08. Our engineers believe it's 1.93 to 1.97. They are justifying street parking. I don't know if anybody's seen Melodon's latest design, but their road in, they have stacked parking all the way on the road in and tried to dedicate that to the hotel. It's not acceptable. It's a hazard to our hotel guests.
Chief.
So it does not work. The cost, Councilman Shin, it is 10,000 square feet. Anybody, once that land sells, anybody has public knowledge to know what it sells for. After everything's said and done, it's about a $400,000 investment for us to provide a turn lane for the town. Again, we think that that's important. Sidewalks on Fayette, again, that's an investment, but we think that it's important for the town to have those. So I'm happy to address any other concerns or questions from citizen time. If anybody had any, again, the point was made, if we came in and put a 4-story hotel by right, we have that right. We cannot get everybody's wants with a 4-story hotel. We cannot do meeting space. There's no meeting space involved with a 4-story hotel. It's a 50 square foot business center that you can come and print. There's no restaurant and bar. So is it by right? Sure. Is it the best use? Probably not. We really, really like the fact of the walkability. Having a restaurant and a bar and a place that the citizens can come to is really important to us, and that's why we designed it that way. Each one of those, each one of these little additions that it's not cheap to put in these additions, but it was important to us to be able to have that access, to have the meeting space, to have the restaurant.
Was there some mention also about outside seating or atrium?
There is, and I don't know that you can quite see it on the resolution from here, but there is an outdoor patio for guests that are walking up. It's a direct access. We believe that there's going to be, as the architect has designed it, open air usable doors. If those doors open up so that like this morning on a nice day, you can open those up. You would invite the citizens and guests to walk.
Is that the restaurant on that side where the built out is?
It's a split of the restaurant and the meeting space comes off that bump out. The one thing we didn't touch on, the economic impact of this hotel. In the infinite wisdom of the council, several years ago they put in an occupancy tax, a 7% occupancy tax, and if the town had not done that, in the little small subsection of the town, that money goes to the county of Prince William. And if we develop at a site outside of town limits, that money goes to Prince William County. And so, as you talk about future projects and revitalization of downtown, that's money that can be used. It can be used to attract tourism to the town. Tell your story. Get people here in Haymarket. Until, I came here for 10 years before I picked up the book and read about the history of Haymarket. I knew that it was significant. But then as I started reading, it's very important. And the more people that you get in here, and you can provide them downtown opportunity to walk over to the museum, highlight what's happening here, the original site, the reason this is called Crossroads, Jefferson and Washington, highlight these things. This is an example to you know, for revitalization of some of these older buildings. You know, sitting in the working session earlier, you know, listening to the blight concerns of the buildings that are in disrepair and falling down. You know, if you can get people to come in and appreciate what they have, this is a fantastic anchor for that. You know, it's tough for me to find a spot when I come and work with my family, and a lot of times I end up at Starbucks on the other side. You know, there are several times that I'll go stay at the little nice cupcake place, get a cup of coffee.
Cupcake Heaven, yes.
It's fantastic, but it's small, and there's several times that you go in and there's not a table to be had, and so you end up at Starbucks working. So I think we provide all of those options and opportunities. You know, again, there are other opportunities that cost us less to develop a mile and a half from here outside of the town limits. The economic impact would not be felt. You know, one thing we didn't talk about were careers. These are sustainable careers. We think over the first 10 years, we're going to create almost $13 million in sustainable careers. My first job at a hotel was a front desk. Bill's first job at a hotel was at the front desk. These are careers. They're not just jobs. And I think as we get into a new age of automation, hospitality is not going away. A robot's not hospitable. You know, you need people to man that and tell your story. So I think the economic impact is significant and real for the town.
Okay. Any other questions for us?
Yes.
No, sir.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, so what we'll do here is we're going to make this very civil, so that way we'll have you all sit back down and ask for citizens' time. And the citizens there again are directing their comments and questions to the council, and then I'll allow you to have a follow-up after that, just to be able to, if there's any questions that you would have. So, yep, absolutely.
Maria Turner, Fayette Street. I'd appreciate it if you changed the picture to the one that has the town hall or museum. Thank you. Perfect. First of all, I'd like to comment on something that Councilman Leake had said. I was not insinuating that you had any issues with this. What I was talking about is the fact that many on this council are within real estate, and whether it's their project or a friend's project or whatever, it just makes me nervous. In addition, another comment that you said was regarding apartments. I don't know what the Winterham property is zoned, but I do know that it was built for condos. They are apartments. Once again, the town wanted something, and a result of a financial failure, it's not what it was to be. There were not supposed to be any rentals on the south side of Washington Street at all. Having said that, I would think, I do like this project. I think it would be, in the future, a good idea for the applicant to have a better graphic, because this is misleading, to show us how much higher face on this building would actually be. I also have questions that would go deeper that I hope the council members would ask as it goes on, and that is truck deliveries for food and whatever else. And if there is a conference, where are they going to park? The people coming to the conference center. I live on Fayette Street, and I don't want them parking in front of my house. I won't be able to get out.
Yep.
I have enough problems right now.
Yeah, Maria, if you just keep that, there you go.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
I have
appreciate
enough
it.
problems right now with the parents exiting St. Michael's or whatever it is school.
Right.
And they're stacked up, and I can't get out Fayette when I have to go get my granddaughter. And that's not a whole lot going on there, except they're all going at once.
Okay.
Anyway, I think the project was a nice idea. If you have to scrap the first floor, I wouldn't want it.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments there.
Good evening again, Council. Joe Passanello, 6895 Track Court. Mr. Murray and Ryan, thank you so much for your presentation. The devil's in the details. I don't think I've changed any of my comments prior to your presentation. Council, I think it's important to take your time with this. I'm not necessarily against some development in that property. Sure, you can do by right, but don't try to sell me that it's only 14-foot difference as opposed to the steeple here at the museum. You really should be looking at the volume as well, folks. The volume. It's not just one point, a static point in the air. It's the whole area, the volume of this development. Frankly, I do think it belongs down at the fairgrounds property. That's where it belongs. I'm not really sure enough due diligence was done. I'd like to see a little bit more of that as to why that didn't make it. It's really going to have to come out in all the reporting so that we better understand it. I don't necessarily disagree with the idea. I was on the council that voted for the occupancy tax. So, and we did talk about partnering with the hospital. And thanks to Jim at Somerset Crossing, he was the guy that came up with the idea. He said, why don't you do something with that property and put a hotel in over there? That would be the perfect spot. Great access off the highway, great access to the hospital, and to points west and north. So you got a lot of work to do. The developer, I think, has a lot of work to do. I think some folks have already made their mind up on this council. They shouldn't play poker because they've already made their tell by selling this project for them. It might not work for them, but it sure sounded like it. Did a very good job of selling it. So please, continue to do your outreach with the community and don't rush this project. So again, I'd like to see the details in all the reports. The traffic, I think it's a great idea that the developer is willing to share and to donate property for turn lanes. I'm not sure if we're talking just Carolina, or if we're talking Washington Street as well. Maybe I didn't hear it properly. Maybe you could clarify that, that it also includes Washington Street. I'm not really sure a rotary will work in that location. It's a tough spot unless you move the rotary further west, which means it's going to take up some of the property here at Town Hall. So, I mean, again, it's all in the engineering, the preliminary engineering. Let's see what that looks like before we go forward. But certainly, I think bottom line is it belongs down at the fairgrounds, as you all agreed to. And by the way, I was the vice mayor in May of 2018. I think I heard Ryan say that this was discussed back in May of 2018. I had no idea that that conversation was going on. How do you think that makes me feel? You should consider that. Let's be open and honest and transparent about things. Try to be capable.
And thank you for your comments, sir.
Kathy Passanello, 6895 Track Court. I was on the Planning Commission when the Meladon property, Crossroads, came up, and was given 30 days by the mayor to get that project done. When Meladon came and presented, yes, we were given a 30-day window, the Planning Commission. There's now a law into effect called the Haymarket Bill to stop that from happening again. Unfortunately, the Meladon group came with the old plan. When I was on the Planning Commission, I said I think Haymarket deserves a little bit better than this. It also had townhomes, which that property really shouldn't have townhomes on it, but it does. If we had gone with the newer, better plan, I think that this project would have been beautiful there, absolutely, because that's where it belongs. You know, I always thought that Haymarket was going to be a little Middleburg. Well, with the Hilton Inn right in the middle of town, I don't think that's going to happen. I do think, however, what you've done towards the historic picture is very nice, but it needs to be lower. It's got to be 4
We could
stories.
keep it, yeah,
No
Kathy, I'm
higher,
sorry.
please, no higher. It's just too much. It is, it is. You know, why are we doing this? Why not just pay $23 a month in garbage and pull a pin on the town? Because nobody seems to be listening to what people are saying.
Okay, and thank you for your comments, ma'am.
Bob Weir, 6853 St. Paul, and if you're expecting me to be overly negative, I'm going to surprise you. Is it economically viable? Absolutely. Will it provide an economic benefit to the town? Almost assuredly. Is it in the right location? Probably not. Could it be made to work? Probably. It does belong at the interchange. It doesn't belong across the street, but it is what it is. I mean, my principal concern here is rushing this as this council and previous councils have done in the past, because that never ends well. It's kind of curious that we're here tonight, seemingly, at least by their testimony, as a result of actions by Meladon and the new site owner. And quite frankly, I mean, this hotel concept is kind of a side effect of a poor planning process. And you can't say you weren't warned. I do have some traffic concerns. They're probably ones that could be alleviated. I'm concerned with the stacking on the turn lane. I'm concerned with the impact on Jefferson Street. As it transitions down to Old Carolina and the bridge, the county has some ideas on what they want to do. What would it require us to do? Would you then at some point in time have to contemplate making that road wider and then, you know, taking out some people's front yards? Probably not, but it's something to consider. This is so early on that I really haven't wrapped my arms fully around it, and yeah, I do understand orientation and zoning. I wrote half the prior zoning ordinances. I mean, it's not their fault that we're doing this and we're doing it on a hurry, but the impact of the Meladon project on the location of this proposed hotel is something that can't be overlooked, and something that you have to consider. I mean, I understand their capital stacking. I understand the timeline that puts them under the constraints that does, construction loans and such. But I think the principal issue that you've got to address under the current zoning ordinance and what the vision of the town is and has been is the mass of that building. It's not the peak height, it's the mass of the building as a whole. 6 stories, I think, would overwhelm the town. They can do it at 4 stories by right, and I would probably be okay with it. And I think the massing would be such that it would likely be acceptable. I would note that the Hilton Garden has a 4-story, 99-room hotel in Gallatin. So the project can be done at 4 stories. By knocking it down from 6 to 4, reducing your proposed rooms from 125 to 99, that knocks off the number of parking spots they would have to have, and they could potentially tweak the design to expand the bottom floor. Just a thought. I'm just kind of spitballing it because I haven't looked at the plans because we haven't been able to see them yet. As far as the zoning ordinance rewrite, one thing that wasn't rewritten in the zoning ordinances was the height in the historic district, and that height exists for a reason. And the differentiation between the B1 and the B2 exists for a reason. And the reason that it exists was because the residents of the town didn't want the center of the town to be overwhelmed by large buildings. That wasn't an accident. The rest of the zoning ordinance was an accident. And that's because you guys applied a cookie-cutter design from a consultant and put no thought into it. The only thing that really was important was that one part, and that stayed in. And it was designed to protect the historic district. And I think that's something you really need to keep in mind. And again, I would just caution you to take your time on this one, because we're going to be paying for the Meladon fiasco for years. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you for your comment, sir.
Dottie Leonard, 14801 Washington Street, speaking only for herself. The citizens aren't here. If they were, you'd hear it. I can tell you that this is most likely a splendid idea because it has a conference center. And if I remember correctly, I mentioned a hotel first years ago. We need one. We need a conference center. I knew the hospital was there, and we were going to have people visiting patients, doctors coming in and out for conferences. There's a good chance that the town can benefit and our taxes can be cut. I can't wait till that street is widened so my poor van doesn't have to ride up on the curb every time I turn that corner. I think there are lots of benefits for us, but if we take away a whole floor and don't get the conference room, we've defeated our purpose. We have a hotel without a conference room. We do need the conference room, and I would suggest to all of you, put in a request. Make a little deal. 3 times a year you can use it. Haymarket Day for no cost. Can they do that? You can ask it can be volunteered to you, I'm sure. 3 times a year, the town could benefit from it. Haymarket Day, we need it. So there are ways that we can be blessed. But I want to say, in this picture, that historic town hall makes their hotel look daggone good. If you do the other picture, can you switch it to the other picture?
And maybe just get that mic a little closer to you. There you go. Take it with you, Dottie.
I'm too shaky.
That's right.
That one.
There's that one. What is this?
The darkened, I think, as she's referring to.
That ruins it. Nothing historic about that. So I know it's got to go through the ARB, and I'll be there. That's got to go. I like this. Is that brick? Stone. Okay. It could look more historic. So I just think it's a good idea. I like widening the street. I'm not as happy with the height. And let me remind everybody, I heard comments about the historic overlay, the historic downtown district. The whole town is historic. From one end to the other, we're only a half a square mile. And a certain person who spoke earlier should know. He tried to stop it and say it was only the center of town, but it didn't work. So the citizens weren't demanding that downtown 2 blocks be the historic section. He was. And it isn't going to happen. It's the whole town. It goes from one end to the other. And if that gets more historic looking, I trust you for that on the ARB. If you need a little help, they can provide you some help on there. I could live with the height. I don't like it. I would like it a little lower. But it's not uncommon. Remember, Haymarket was named after Haymarket, London, by Mr. Skinker. It says Haymarket on a certain building in town and on some documents that they were a part of doing, but no one came to this town to buy hay, ever, until about maybe 20 years ago when a few bales were tossed in our hardware store, which was this building. So this was no hay field, and there was no hay market named after hay. It was named after Haymarket, London, as was Bristol, Virginia, Tennessee, named after Bristol, England. They had hotels that tall right up and down their main street. It's not uncommon, and yeah, there were funeral homes too.
And thank you, Dottie, for your comment there.
Hello again.
Yes.
Amy Moore, 6751 Fayette Street. Ms. Dottie, you're a tough act to follow. I have a logistical question. There was a picture with plans that showed like mostly white and like a top view of the land. Could I see that? Yeah. So I might be late to the game. Hold on, I'm trying to get my bearings.
Take the mic with you.
You don't like my instructor voice, Mrs. Edwards? So this is still a property that exists?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
In putting in a proposed plan, is this building still in place?
Well, let me answer the question. So they have applied for a demo permission for that building that's there in that corner there. We understand also with this turn lane, there might be another information that we're just now being aware of. If the turn lane goes, VDOT would require that actual turn lane would go right about through the middle of the living room of that building, the current structure.
But this was saved when other things were demoed.
Correct. This was out of the 7 or 8 demolitions. This one was one of the buildings that was saved. Correct. Out of the demo permit for the original purchaser, or excuse me, the original landowner, and now they have came in with the new prospective owners have came in with a demo permit for that building.
Okay. I have a big concern about that too, because I'm under the impression that it was saved based on some significance, whether it be architectural, structural. I don't know all the fancy terms. I just know I like old stuff, and when stuff is saved, that's super cool, in my personal opinion. So that creates a new concern for me as a citizen, and I can obviously understand it would be hard to save that with a turn lane. It would be hard to save that with that proposed property, but that again, for me, would be an issue where I wouldn't necessarily support this project.
Understand.
I do love the passion that was given during the presentation. I love the idea of keeping a small town feel and understanding the historic significance and being very sensitive to citizens here, and the very generous offer to pay for a turn lane. We'd all love to be able to helicopter over this intersection, I'm sure. And I think I do still think it gets back to something that's fairly simple, and that's if we have rules and zoning written a certain way, and a company comes in, and a small group comes in and wants to do something, and if they can't do it within the way it's currently zoned, I'm sure there are times when amendments are useful, but I feel like that begins to create a slippery slope. And I think holding on to that the way it exists now, it was there for a purpose, and I don't think that that should be easily dismissed. Again, now wanting to demo something that was originally saved is almost like another exception. So it feels like exception upon exception, and unfortunately I don't think that with all the lip service in the world that gives true meaning to listening to what the concerns of a small town are and for historic preservation. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment there. Would anybody else like to speak for citizens' time? With that, I'm going to go ahead and close citizens' time. I'm going to let the applicants come up, and if there's anything that you wanted to readdress out of the comments that you heard, I, I just think it would be fitting for
comments were well received. We think that it's very important to keep the historic feel. Four-story hotel, the economics just don't make sense. It doesn't make sense from the demand that is in the area and that the town needs, and honestly, the construction and cost of the land. There may be four-story Hilton Garden Inns that have not gone through the extensive cost of historical design. Brick, the supporting steel needed to support brick, stonework is not cheap. At the end of the day, it has to be a project that makes sense for us economically, and that requires somewhere around 125 rooms. There are other hotel projects out there that, again, do not have the amenities that would fit on the lot and make sense at a four-story level, but we don't think that's the best use for the town. We think what we've provided is the best use and the best product for the town. I'm captivated by the continued discussion of keeping the restrictive guidelines in place, because this is the third meeting I've sat at, and every meeting we're talking about, y'all are talking about buildings that are falling down and falling apart, and projects that don't move forward. You know, I heard tonight several projects that never moved forward, and I think you have to reflect and say, why is nothing happening? Why is Middleburg growing? Why is the Plains busy? Why is Leesburg, you know, hustling? You know, you're talking about areas that are in your backyard and are very busy, and you have buildings that are falling down. And we really hope to be a part of bringing education and bringing economic impact to Haymarket. But it has to make sense for us economically as well to do the project. So I'll leave that with y'all. Right. Hopefully that resonates. I did send emails out to each and every council member to discuss the project. The offer still stands. If you have questions, we're available. Be happy to get my information out to the citizens as well. We're happy to field any questions. We're very transparent. We're not here to rush anything through, other than we're on a very short timeline on close on the land, and that's it. Once that clock expires, we have to make a multi-million-dollar decision on how to move forward, and the feedback from y'all is very important on that.
All right. Any other questions from the dais here?
Can I make?
Yeah.
Anybody
No,
over there?
just one.
I'm good.
I would very much like, as someone who's worked very hard in this town for historic preservation, to see what you all can do to see if that last structure can be moved, if we can find someone to take it. So I would like for you to see if you can work on that, so we don't have to demolish it, but yet someone else, we could use it, somebody could use it for a business in town or something.
And let me dovetail on that. I think maybe it's important for the town, somehow or another, can we have a third party? We're not having their decision or somebody else's decision of an engineer's report. You know, is it viable to move?
Well,
You know,
that was my
right,
question, to
right.
see if they can find
Well,
out
well,
if
should
it
it-
can be moved,
right.
and if so, if we can find someone to take it.
Right. Is that something that the town would entertain, or would we want the?
So Mayor, you're stating instead of having the applicant go ahead and do that engineering report to, per se, make sure it's not quote unquote maybe biased, you're saying, is it better off that the town gets their own report to see if it's feasible to move?
Right.
Is that what you're stating?
Yeah, so is that ever something that's done, Martin? Because I know that you've dealt with a lot of things with Manassas and, yeah.
Yeah, you can certainly obtain your own report to see whether that's viable. It's not a particularly expensive thing just to go and have somebody look at it and say, yeah, this can be moved. But, you know, actually moving it is another matter.
Right,
because
right,
if
I
you have to
understand that.
raise power lines, that's a 6-month process. It's very expensive. And then actually, you know, taking it from here to there can be quite a chore. But, no, yeah, it can be done.
Yeah. So is there an interest from the council that maybe to pursue this viability, let's call it a viability of actual moving the structure?
I think the applicant wants to speak.
Oh, sorry, apologies. Go ahead.
Go ahead and finish.
Oh, no, I just
wanted
wanted
to express my appreciation to the ARB because I was here 2 weeks ago and was pretty chagrined, by what we were trying to get done, and tried to be very humble that night and say I'm open to ideas. And I appreciated the ARB for their frank and honest input back to us, and we took it extremely seriously. And still see 3 options there. Do whatever we could do. Part of that is understanding what a professional tells us we can do and can't do.
Right. Okay. Right.
I guess my concern would be, I'm not opposed to the idea. I guess my concern would be finding out whether it's feasible to be moved is one thing, but then finding where it's going to be moved and somebody that's going to pay to move it.
The process.
Is another. So,
I mean, there's no point in going through the rest of it if the
we knew
building
that,
can't be moved.
Right. And as we've seen, some of these buildings had a great success for
yeah, I know we moved the one.
the Hare
with
River
Cookies and
property.
Cream as an example.
Right.
I'm not opposed to it.
Right. But then as we've seen
it's
some-
not something that's really drawn out.
Right, and some of the structures have so much rot that there was no possibility of even erecting it off its foundation without it crumbling apart, so, yeah. Other thoughts?
That's something that I would have to think about.
Okay, all right. Mr. Day?
I'm not quite sure on that. Again, if we can move it and save it to a different location, I'm all for that. But yeah, I'm a little on the fence on that one.
Yeah, just looking at
Drags
this
out.
primary, just if.
I don't have
if
any
there's a-
objection to looking at it.
Right, it's a study
Right.
that
I'd be
obviously the
in
town.
favor of that.
as a-
Sure.
I'm
as
not
the-
saying commit to that,
Right.
I'm saying
But if it's something obviously
put it
that,
out there on the table.
that the council could do, that's an option that we would have.
No, Mayor, if I may, I think it would be a great idea to get an independent assessment done by the town to ensure that there's no, and I don't think that the applicant would be biased on their report, but this way it allows us to ensure that it's an accurate report on the building. And I know that listening to the last ARB meeting, they were looking for some input from the town council. So
Mhm.
maybe this could be a directive from us saying, hey, look, we listened, we heard the meeting, and we'll get this report done and get it sent over to the ARB so that they can have a new report to look at that is not the same one that was presented at the first application.
All right, so, correct me if I'm wrong, Emily, the first engineer's report that we spoke about many times that were done for the property, obviously, it's been a couple of years?
It was approximately 1 year ago, this past June, I
Okay.
believe, or it could have been July, but about a year ago was the most recent one that was submitted with the demolition application.
Right, so that was something that the applicant actually
That was-
produced?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, all right. Okay. There again, I'm not sure if I got at least 3 people to decide that this might be a good thing or not. Maybe we just go around the dais if.
I'm for if we can do it, just to see
A
whether
study.
it's even feasible.
Right, okay. So yes, that you would be in favor, Councilman Leak?
Yes, to have a full report on the structure itself as well as the feasibility of it being moved.
Okay. Councilman?
I don't know how much it will cost.
Uh,
Feasibility
yeah.
study, good idea.
Okay, all right. Vice Mayor?
Yes, I brought
Okay.
it up, so yes.
Councilman Cavazos?
I'm still on the fence about it.
Okay. And Councilman Day?
I have no objection.
Okay.
I have no objection.
Okay, all right, great.
And to answer that question, depending on the building engineer that you utilize, it can be anywhere from roughly $1,500 to $2,500. Recently, on the more inexpensive side, but that's a rough ballpark depending on which firm you actually go out and hire. And it can obviously be lower than that if depending on it.
Mr. Krim, that's what I was going to ask. Mr. Krim, does that sound about what you've seen?
I can't contradict that. It
Right.
sounds reasonable to me.
Right.
Do you know, Mr. Krim, if there are historic, specialists for the, historic buildings, or what is it
Or
just
is
a
it more of
general
a-
engineer? Yeah, I mean,
Well, I'd have to look into that.
okay,
Okay.
thank
All right.
you.
You know, With that, any other further closing comments or anything? Okay, any other further on this? We're going to take a short recess.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we're long overdue. And also, that might also give us some wording that if the council was to entertain a motion for this idea or thought. But, all right, great. I'll say we'll reconvene at 9:15. Thank you all very much. Okay, welcome back. All right, so our next item on our agenda is our consent agenda. That has our May 20th, 21st, June 3rd regular and joint public hearings. Also, we added our consent agenda to our department reports and the amendment for the funding source as outlined in our work session, and the Board of Zoning Appeals recommendation revision. So with that, I think it's as simple as a motion that would state, Mr. Grimm?
The motion would be to approve the consent agenda.
There you go. If I have a so moved?
So moved.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
By Vice Mayor?
Vice Mayor.
Okay. Discussion on the motion. So this is basically approving, as we know, I think this may be one of the first consents that we've done on this council. So with that, everybody realizes that we're voting to approve these items as they're presented in the packet and in the work session.
I just want to make sure that Bond and Councilman Cavazos and Councilwoman Cavazos, Councilman Day, had the opportunity to make sure that they knew the two dates for the September and October meeting.
Yes, Susan told me. Thank you.
Perfect. Mr. Day, I'm not sure if we had transmitted that over to you, but also we obviously need to make sure that you're available for those days as well due to holidays. So September 9th would be the new date for our September meeting, and that is a week after the 2nd due to Labor Day, and then October 2nd as well. Any issues?
No, but thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Sorry, we got a little bug here. Okay. Literally a bug. It's like keep him in there. All right, any further discussion? Could I have a roll call vote, please?
Shannon?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Cavazos?
Yes.
Day?
Yes.
All right, great. I think we've covered our citizens' time for this evening, so we'll go right on to our action items. We have our blight ordinance action item 14941 Washington Street and 6707 Jefferson Street. Maybe briefly, Ms. Emily, you could just say what we discussed at our work session, and since two members weren't here, and then our proposed action for this property.
Yes, so what we discussed in the work session is that we started this blight ordinance action on these two properties about a year ago. Council had originally decided on a priority list. This was number 2 on the list. In October of last year, we sent letters as well as public notices to the paper. They were received. We sent certified letters and had receipts sent back. There was no communication with the property owner. We've reached out numerous times since then, offering suggestions on how to work with us, discussing the different processes for permits, how to come in and get before the ARB or the Planning Commission, depending on what they wanted to do. And these conversations were friendly. It was always received over the phone as they would get on it. They would come talk to us. They would come meet with us. And to date, we've had no additional action. Just 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was on a conference call with Mayor and the property owner, or one of the property owners. It is a family-owned business there. And they mentioned that they would be willing to come in and work with us. I've sent demolition permit applications. I've sent COAs. And I offered, just come submit something in an application, and I would administratively waive the fee to show that we're very willing to work with them. However, there was no response to that. So today we want to discuss the action items for creating a plan to deal with the blight ordinance. Again, it was sent out October of 2018, so we have given them full notice with no response.
Okay. So what are our options? Well,
So your options are to have direct staff to develop a plan for abating the blight, or pursuing enforcement mechanisms such as fining them or imposing a civil penalty under your ordinance for maintaining this blighted situation. Or if you had the maintenance code in place, you could make a maintenance code complaint, which would be handled by Prince William County's building official or maintenance code official. And of course, continuing to try to get voluntary compliance if that's possible. Another thing I would mention is that there may be funding available for facade improvements if that's something that's holding them back, if they just can't make a business plan work. However, in my experience, a lot of times when these companies can't seem to get something done, it's because they're out-of-town absentee landowners who don't have a real incentive to do so, and in fact may be counting on continuing losses on this property to offset income somewhere else.
Okay. Thoughts on that? Start to the right.
It goes back to what we talked about earlier about bringing in the county. So that's, my feelings haven't changed.
Right, okay. Councilman Lee?
I would be on the same board, as our duty is to protect the safety and welfare of the town and residents, business owners, constituents, everybody. If the Virginia state statute has that out there, and it's just a uniform code that we need to adopt to ensure that everything's coming in and making sure that everything's being followed. We have the state statute for a reason and might as well follow it. If that means we have to go through a maintenance code or an MOU with the county to give them oversight, we no longer have the building official in-house. That's now through the county as well. So in my instance, if that's not something we're looking to go ahead and bring on, then go ahead and give them that power of the Virginia State Code to enforce here within the town.
Okay. Councilman Padu? Same? Okay.
One
Vice-
question for Martin.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any consideration given to historic structures when something like this happens?
Right. So there are three ways to demolish a historic structure, but you can do a lot of things without demolishing it. So, for example, with the blighted building, the former fire station, it could be boarded up.
No, I don't mean that, but I mean if we go with the uniform code.
Yes.
Do they use that as one of their consideration items, or is that, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I see what you're saying. So in terms of maintenance code, there are, the maintenance code official does have some discretion to make variations in the maintenance code requirements for historic structures. Okay. So, if there's no way to modify a historic structure in a way that would typically be required by the code, then they can make an exception for it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Cavazos?
I agree with what Steve said and Susan and everyone. I think that we should do whatever we can and involve the county if we have to.
Just for clarification, I understand what we're talking about is giving control of the blight ordinance to the county as the sole, is that what we're talking about? Or please help me understand what we're talking about.
Mr. Mayor, if I could address
Sure,
that?
absolutely.
So, Councilman, the issue is not the blight ordinance, but adding a new tool to the toolbox in terms of the maintenance code, which is not currently there. You would still have the ability to, under the blight abatement ordinance, to require the property owner to abate the blight, and if they don't, adopt your own plan, go in and do the work, and put a lien on the property for the work that you've done.
So how does the county come involved?
The county becomes involved by bringing one of two kinds of actions, either a criminal action for a violation of the maintenance code or an injunction to order the property owner to abate the nuisance.
All right, thank you.
There's a little more teeth would you say, Martin? A little more?
It's another tool in the
Yeah.
toolbox. I mean, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And I'll tell you, if you bring an injunction action and you get an injunction against somebody and they just don't have the money to do the work, the court's not going to do anything with them because they can't really find them in contempt if they can't afford to do the work.
And it doesn't cost us. That's the thing. It's not an expense to us, so.
Right.
Do you know of any downside for this? I mean,
The delay.
yeah, right, okay.
What do you mean the delay?
So to get the county involved in it, they may not make this their highest priority. I mean, they have
Oh,
a
okay.
priority list.
Right. So they're
But in
looking at
the
other.
meantime, we can still use our other tools.
Absolutely.
To
They're
address the
still available to
situation.
you. Yeah, it
Okay.
doesn't preclude you.
There's one other thing, talking to someone in the audience earlier, they could come through, if that's adopted, which I agree it should be, they could come through anytime, look at any building anywhere and say, that needs to be fixed.
Right.
So I don't even want to say it's a double-edged sword, but ultimately, our duty is to keep this town straight, proper, and not have blight issues and stuff. So to me, there's really no downside to it.
My thoughts. I think we do all three. I think we go ahead and instruct to go ahead and draft this code. Public hearing, no public hearing?
No
Just in
public
order,
hearing,
yes.
confirmed.
So go ahead and get the language for that. We work on, or authorize the attorney to work on a letter of a good understanding with the county. The fine, if that's something we can impose, I think we should do that. I think on this particular case, I think we just, obviously it's just been ignored. I can't tell you how much personal time where I've either called with staff and did three-way calls of, look, Sturgio, we have, matter of fact, it was like Zip Trip, and your grass is 3 foot tall. Can you please take care of this? So we've exhausted, I think, every means of trying to get compliance. Now it's time to, a fine, the plan, and then adopt or see about adopting the maintenance code. So I think if we've got a consensus of that, I don't know if it needs to be a form of a motion or just directive, that if no objection, or we're directing the town attorney, or go ahead.
So as I understand it, there are two elements, as you mentioned, an MOU is required with, or somebody mentioned that there's an MOU required with the county. So that would come back in the form of an action for the council to take,
right,
as well as an MOU with the county, which they've already done with some of the other towns, to enforce the maintenance code.
Okay.
Happy to do that.
Okay. So that really wouldn't need a motion, just where I could just do if no one objects?
Yeah, I think everybody's already expressed that they're in support of that.
Okay, great. So that'll streamline that aspect of it. So obviously, we're asking staff to come up with a plan as well to come back to the council.
Is there anything that we can do in the meantime? I mean, this might take a little bit to get a
Right. It does, and in the meantime, the mayor mentioned trying to impose a fine on the property owners. That's currently in your zoning, in your blight abatement ordinance. That would be something that we could pursue, imposing that fine.
Could we find them as well as getting our landscape? They gave us an estimate to at least clean up the.
Right, I need to look at your ordinance again in
Okay.
terms of what you can do in terms of tall grass. Typically, towns do have a tall grass ordinance.
Yeah, we do have one, the vegetation and everything like that that's associated with this.
Right. So is that something you want us to bring back for further council action? Or do you want the town staff to take whatever steps are currently available to address the
We could just
tall
give
grass?
that as a.
A directive,
As a
yeah.
directive.
To the staff.
I don't know, everyone
Wanna go
else is,
around?
yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Councilman Lee?
Are we then sending the bill to the property owner, and if he doesn't pay, then we're putting the lien on the property, or are we just gonna eat the 800 ourselves?
Well, we have one proposal that we got just to help clean up just the vegetation aspect of this blight.
Understood, but
Right.
what is?
And that was only
What's
one of
the
the buildings.
plan?
Is the game
Yeah.
plan for
Yeah.
us to pay for it? Is the game plan for us to bill him, and if he doesn't pay for it, then to put the lien on the property?
Mhm.
Is
Right.
that- I mean, I just want to know how are we planning on
Good
funding
question.
it?
Okay.
Is it coming out of blight? In my take on the blight ordinance, we have the ability to put the lien on the property. It's a little more costly to do so.
Well, we first present the bill. I would always think that if only when they don't pay.
We'll do the work and then we'll send the bill to him to pay. And if he doesn't pay, and at that time the council can either decide if we want to put a lien on or if we want to pay for it ourselves.
Need to put a lien on my opinion. Yeah.
Okay. Then
Eventually, he needs to pay for it.
Okay. Well, then I'm good with go ahead and moving forward with work.
Any other thoughts on this side?
I agree.
Right, okay. And what about the fine? Is that something that we could actually take action tonight?
So, let me scroll down.
Just a clarification, we are not charging any penalty or anything, right?
We're now looking at penalties, that he hasn't
Right now,
responded.
he's looking to see if we can
Yeah.
find
Had
him.
opportunities, the mayor and the staff have talked to him time and time again, and nothing.
So-
He's ignored it, so.
Town Code Section 22-5, A5, says the town may impose and collect civil penalties not to exceed a total of $1,000 for violations of this section. And this section is describing situations where buildings, walls, or structures might endanger the public health or safety of the citizens. So that would seem to apply here, that you can impose fines of up to $1,000.
Okay. There you go.
I mean,
Just
I
takes it.
think he's just been so non-responsive, and this has been going on for years. That's my opinion.
I discussed that in our work session, that my conversations with him and with staff, that, I'm sorry, I can't get a landscaper, they're not available this time of year, we're putting our wine national, we don't have time, I spoke to my mom and dad, they're out of the town, I mean, I can just go on at least 2 handfuls of excuses, week after week, month after month, and even like as we came up to Zip Trip and just trying to get him to clean up, just non-responsive.
So we can impose a fine and hit him with a bill for any work that was done?
Correct.
Yep.
I think that certainly has my support.
Okay, then let's make that a form of a motion.
Fine as well as cost.
Yeah, for what was done, the cleanup.
So the form of the motion would be then to direct staff to clean up the tall grass and bill the property owners for that work, imposing a lien if the bill is not paid as provided by the town ordinance, and also to impose a $1,000 fine, if I might just jump to that.
Yep, right. And just so we,
For the property at 6707 Jefferson Street.
well, you have 2 properties. You got the firehouse too, that's
Okay.
just about the same
And
condition.
14941 Washington Street.
14941 Washington Street.
Yep.
Mayor, may I
Yes, sir.
add, can we address any broken windows or roofs that are loose? I know I believe the 2nd-story front facade of the firehouse, we have several broken windows. I know they repaired some in the back, but I think on the front facade and east facade.
So the options for the council to deal with the broken windows and the roof defects is either to have the county handle that under the property maintenance code, or to do what we were discussing previously in terms of sending the plan that you are going to follow if they don't do it first, and then doing that work and billing for it.
Right. Yeah, so this, as we presented, the first motion would be specific to the fine and the immediate cleanup of the 2 buildings with the vegetation and the grass.
Right.
Right, okay. So need to have a first, or excuse me, a so moved?
So moved.
Okay. I need a second for discussion.
I second.
Councilman Cavazos, second. Okay, so for discussion, I know that some of them had some questions.
My suggestion would be just to do this and see how far we get with the memorandum of understanding with the county as far as the uniform code by next meeting, and then we can take further action if that's going to take longer than, with the windows and things like that. That's my suggestion.
I think, yeah, I think it also in either part of the motion or what we should do is instruct the staff to come up with the blight plan for that property, absolutely. And then we're also instructing the attorney to then bring up the dialogue and negotiate an MOU for the ordinance, as well as come up with the draft language for our next meeting to go forward with that.
I think after
yeah.
this fine and that cost will bring him.
Well, what we have to realize too, this just isn't this property. I mean, there's other properties that we're, it's taking.
Have all those
yeah.
property who
Yeah.
are not taken care of.
Right, yeah. Any further discussion on the motion? So we understand what we're doing. Roll call vote, please.
Shannon?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Hanby?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Cavazos?
Yes.
Day?
Yes.
All right, great. Okay, I think that addresses that. Number 2, we have the public hearing authorization for revenue projection amendment. So, go ahead, Mr. Roberto.
So the resolution is basically asking for approval to go ahead and requesting for the public hearing notification notice to be able to publicize, to discuss over the budget amendments, and as well to discuss the funds to carry over for the renovation of the town center project.
Right. So we have 2 resolutions in front of us, handouts, the 2019-003 and 004.
Oh, I apologize. Yeah, those were the resolutions from the June 20th meeting, correct?
Oh, did I get so I had the wrong ones in front of me?
Yeah.
Yeah, apologies then, sorry.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So about the report in front of you is for the motion to publicize the public hearing to a date that would be determined, which would be concerning the increase in revenues of $45,000, the appropriation of the carryover funds for the renovation project to continue on this fiscal year, and the appropriation for the discussions on the deputy business manager position, which will cover the salary and benefits.
Right. So there again, I think this is also a handout, so we have a proposed sample motion at the bottom of,
Do we need to plug in a date there?
Yes.
yes.
And we need to advertise that, if I'm right, Mayor. We
Correct.
need to advertise that for at least 1 week.
So if we could look at our calendars, and maybe can we do like a continuation of this meeting? That way it's not a special meeting. So if we could look at our calendars and see what date available for us for, so we need it, how many days, what's the soonest we can have the meeting? And
7 days?
It's, 7 days advertisement, and then the advertisement appears in the newspaper, what day of the week?
July 10th. July 10th.
July 10th would be the earliest? Okay.
Should we run it?
So the 10th would be when the advertisement appears? Okay, so you couldn't hear that and then before the 17th?
Should we do it 2 weeks for transparency? Never hurt.
Yeah, I mean, 17th is more than 2 weeks.
Well, no, I mean, running 2 weeks on the newspaper side.
Oh, okay. I'm
is what I'm
sorry,
saying.
I misunderstood what you said, what you meant. Yeah, you could certainly advertise it more than once.
I mean,
so when are we looking for it?
anything after the 24th. I mean, that way you can run it for 2 weeks in the newspaper. Everyone has the time to look at it. Same thing with our budget. I mean, when we do our budget, we do so many work sessions and public hearings and looking at it. I mean, if we're talking about increasing the revenue and expenditure side, why not run it for the 2 weeks to ensure that we can say that we've been transparent and it gets out there?
So we're talking about Wednesday, the 24th.
That would work for me, because I come back the 23rd.
Okay.
Anything else on
We have
it?
ARB that day.
I was just about to say, there's
Just
something else
kidding.
that day.
24th?
The ARB is the 24th.
24th, and Planning Commission is the 25th.
All right, what about the 29th, that Monday?
Can I make a suggestion, Mayor? I mean, this
Yeah.
isn't going to take a lot of time.
Right, this
Could
should
you
be
do
good.
it before the ARB?
We do it at
meeting?
6 o'clock before, or meet at 6 before the ARB?
And
Does
then
that work?
just get it taken care of.
Okay.
Good idea,
There you
Mr.
go.
Krim.
There we go. So we're still back down to, at the 24th, say at 6 o'clock. This will be a continuation of this meeting. What if there's other things that come up, Mr. Krim? Is there anything that could be added other than just this? How does that work?
That's correct. A continuation meeting means that it is this meeting continued, and since that's a regular meeting, then any matters can be added at that agenda, to the agenda at the dais at that meeting.
Okay. I just know that there's other things that are coming through.
But you have to remember that we only have a finite amount of time.
Right,
Because
yes,
there's
right.
another meeting after us.
Absolutely, 6 o'clock.
But
right.
this is a special hearing, right?
It is a continuation meeting, so it is not a special meeting.
No.
Not a special.
A public hearing, that's what I was trying to come up with.
It is, in fact, a public hearing.
Okay, sorry, couldn't get the words.
We would just have to keep it no
We'll keep it
later
in.
than 7 PM because
Right. Start the
ARB, we
meeting.
don't want to hold in.
Okay. All right. With that understanding, can we just do it as directed?
Yeah, that's how we've done continuation meetings before. If there's no objection, then
Right.
council seems to have consensus.
Yep.
No need to vote.
Does that work for
Okay.
you, Bon? And Bob?
Great. Okay. What else do we have? So we have a VDOT letter. Maybe this person that sent this
Right
to
for
us.
me to read it?
Yeah.
Here's,
What are our options?
as of right now, next year, our paving season is usually May through November. And again, this is not written in stone, but we're going to be paving 55 Washington Boulevard here from just about where Walmart is, 2/10 of a mile from 15 there, all the way to the fire station. The issue is VDOT will not put stamped asphalt, so we can have it milled up to that, skip it, and continue on so that the stamped asphalt stays there. The other option, if VDOT does it all the way through, we would only put back lines, stripes, for the pedestrian walkway and stuff like that. So I just need to know kind of what I figured we would look at paving up to the stamped asphalt, stop, go over the stamped asphalt and keep it there. But it's whatever we're directed, I can make either happen.
So we understand when looking at this project where we're already trying to do some stamping and the painting right now, we found out that ideally, in order for us just to do our crosswalks correctly, the ones that are missing the stamp, we need to mill it, and then we need to do it within 6 months of the stamp impression. Obviously, we can paint them at any time and get that part going. Here's my thought or concern is right here at the intersection. Whatever date they decided to put that brick inlay, and as you can see, it's been problematic. It's deteriorated, the concrete supports that are doing. So I'm wondering if it's not better, when you're coming through there, just to take that away and then we do the stamped impressions there. But that's not obviously something that I would want to instruct. I would want to hear everybody's thoughts on that. Because right now, all you're going to be able to do is come up to the concrete borders, stop your asphalt, grab it from the other side, but we still got the ugly broken concrete and Waverly brick that's plagued us.
How would it work if we used that product that Culpeper used?
I've asked that. I've heard two different stories, and what the vice mayor's talking about is they used a material out in Culpeper that I haven't been able to observe. She has, and the things I've been told about it is it's very durable. It holds up well. That's what's in Culpeper.
We have some.
What's,
Yeah.
do
Martin's-
tell
Martin's-
Mr. Krim.
Well, I don't know that I would agree that it holds up well. It doesn't look very good right now.
Is that right?
It's been
Okay.
on the ground a number of years. I don't know exactly.
No,
how
no,
many.
no, this is
This
just
is
brand
brand new.
new. This
Brand
is
new.
something they
Oh,
just,
the new stuff. I'm sorry, misunderstood you.
Yeah, I talked
yeah, it's an
to,
epoxy.
my counterpart, one below my counterpart, that said that they love it out there. It's working where it's durable, but it's new. So how durable is it for, it's been there, what, 5, 6 months or whatever? Pardon?
I did go through the winter, went through 4 seasons. I know
Okay.
that, yeah.
So, I don't know if that's an option or not.
I mean, do we have any like cost estimates, like what that would cost, or, maybe we need to compare what the different options are as far as cost goes?
Plus, I think it would look weird if it was paved and stopped, and then wouldn't it have like a difference in height?
No, no, it would be smooth all the way through, but it's just a matter of whether VDOT will pay for that or the town will have to pay for it. VDOT does standard level of service, and that's mill and pave, and put back any lines.
So what would happen if we took up these crosswalk, like what's here, the brick part? Would you mill the whole thing and then we would come back and stamp the crosswalks, or is that not how that works? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm not sure how that would work. And keep in mind, Jefferson, all of these areas are about to get paved anyway. It's
Yeah.
probably going to be August now, I think, because they're on Cat Harpin paving right now, milling and paving. So,
We do have 2 here that are missing.
No, yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out how this would
Maybe
work.
pull that, and then we could get maybe somebody to stamp it.
yeah.
That's right, of course.
And I'll tell you this, right here on Fayette, you've seen where the patch job was done. I guess Service Authority did that. My guys went out and marked it, and we had to call in Miss Utilities, and I called my guys and said, man, that was fast, thanks. They said, thanks, boss, we didn't do it. So I assume Service Authority did that. I still have concerns, though. They're going to come back, and I want them to run a camera through the pipe to see if there's any type of separation there. There's a reason that it was undermining like that. So that's going to be checked. But getting back to the letter, I just pretty much need to know, because we're going to, as of right now, it's going to be on the paving contract for next month, and we're putting together roads now, next year, for 2020. It's not that fast, but we're putting roads on now for 2020. So I need to know
How soon do we
that.
have to make a decision? Do we have to let them know what it's going to be?
Within the next couple of days, we need to know, because they're putting the contract together now. That's what I was out doing all day today and tomorrow, be driving roads. And just for something else, Fayette, this side of Fayette, I talked to Emily today, depending on when the third house, we checked with Dominique, they got to tie into the gas lines. If I get a date on that, I'm probably going to get this side paved this year as well. If not, I'll get it paved next year when they're doing 55 here at Washington. So, but we're putting the contract together now, or our infrastructure office is putting the contract together now. So, when I sent this on the 23rd of June, I was asked if we could kind of get an answer, a feel for within a week or so. So we're at that time. And
I just wanted to bring up one point. I do have the epoxy crosswalk sample, if anyone is interested in looking at it.
is that the type they have in Culpeper?
It
You took-
is,
Good.
and so they sent it up. I know Shelley spent a lot of time working with the contractor, I believe, who installed it, and talking with Culpeper and our town engineer.
Okay.
And Katie didn't give the greatest feedback on the product. They had seen the applications in other locations, and they had mixed concerns about just how it would survive our winters, salt from the trucks, so forth and so on. So I will see Katie Wednesday, and I can get more of a definitive answer on that, on her concerns if necessary.
I'll push this another week. Mayor, if you let me know, if I know in a week what we want to do, when I meet with our infrastructure office tomorrow, I'll tell them we need another week before we can really make a decision on what we want to do there.
Place this on our continuation.
So,
There you go.
But that's not a week.
Okay.
Well, no, but I mean, he needs a week or so, and then,
Yeah, I just need to know, as I said, we're putting the contract together. In the contract, it'll be a small difference, but we need to tell them whether they're gonna mill and pave all the way, and they're gonna come back, they're gonna stripe the crosswalks, or whether the town's gonna do the stamped asphalt or concrete or whatever you're gonna do, whatever we're gonna do.
So they would just pave it and then not paint
We
the
would.
crosswalks if we
Yeah, they
ask
would.
them to, if we ask them not to?
Yeah, the crosswalks, something have to be done almost simultaneous, because we're not gonna have the roads with no crosswalks whatsoever. So it would almost have to be done
Have
simultaneous.
to coordinate.
Probably the cheapest thing is the stamps, right?
well, can you stamp after you paint?
I really don't know
Yeah.
that. I'd have to ask that.
Do you know, they said if they do paint, the one contractor I was speaking with, he did say that, when they do paint over it, you're gonna lose a little bit of that definition. So I don't know if we wanna just mill over it and stamp it again, that's just a thought.
That's what I was
How
thinking.
long do you have to stamp after paving? 6 months?
Yeah.
It's an option.
But what Steve is saying is that you don't want to go that long without having the crosswalks there, and if they're already like painted or,
Well, the paint, I mean, you don't really eradicate that type of paint or whatever, but if you're gonna come back and with stamped asphalt or whatever later on, that, the stripes are gonna come up, the painting's gonna come up, but it just, I like the look, I like the color and stuff like that, it really makes a difference, but we just have to, make a
Make it
decision whether we want to
uniform,
do it.
maybe.
I mean, as it is now, we can pave, mill right up to it, skip right over it, and then mill and pave again. And then, any issues we have with, the town's responsible for that anyway, for the above and beyond what we do. So, it's something you can take care of even after the fact.
Mayor, is
Okay.
it possible to have another continuation meeting before the continuation meeting on the 25th?
It's always
Or we could just do 1 week on the,
Yeah.
technically, no, we don't have to do the 2 weeks, so.
Yeah.
If we need to have it sooner
Right.
for different purposes.
If Councilman Shannon needs to get a response back to VDOT within a week of
I do
today.
within a week and I may be able to push that 10 days or so, but we're driving roads now for 2020.
Right.
And that's why, and I finish my roads in Prince William tomorrow. So they'll start putting the contract together next week.
Gotcha.
So that's why it's time sensitive.
All right. So we'll look at our calendars again.
I would rather put those meetings together than have like multiple throughout the month.
So then we would have to be minimum to meet our deadline with the newspaper, earliest would be the 17th.
Yeah. So,
But that's still 2 weeks, 2 days to Steve.
I'm good for the 17th.
And then not have the one on the 24th.
correct.
But is that,
Is that too much?
is that too long too? Because that's 2 weeks, 2 days.
For me,
For us to give you a decision on what to do.
Yeah.
yeah, I need a decision,
Okay.
in the next week to 10 days.
Well, then maybe
I can
direct
push
staff
it
or-
10 days. I could,
Yeah.
I'm sure I can get them.
Maybe we should just have them pave up to the side, up to the crosswalk like he said, because even, if we decide to do stamping, if we decide to do the epoxy or anything else, we'll just have to do it or take out the brick and then we'll just be
I think the
responsible for
only
doing that
brick
on
is
our
on
own.
this
It's
crosswalk here.
It's this
Is
whole
it?
intersection here has
but
brick.
it
Oh, the
hasn't,
whole intersection
Yes,
is,
yes.
oh, yeah.
The whole
it hasn't
intersection.
held up well.
And that's the reason why I'm.
No, I will tell you, I am absolutely, from my experience with VDOT, I am not, we did this in Middleburg. It cost hundreds of thousands of dollars because they were bringing in sand from Saudi Arabia, literally, because it was a special project they did. As the brick pavers, and they were called something else, but as they would break, the only thing I'd do is I'd go put asphalt on them because I didn't have the budget to spend, $5,000 to replace a brick. So,
I guess a question for the council, would we be okay to just to take up this brick infrastructure at this one location, have them go ahead and do your paving
and
right
pave.
over it? Exactly.
stamp 'em.
And then I think that you're saying that you will mark them, so all of them will be marked, correct?
yeah, we can mill right up to the brick.
No, that's not what he's saying.
Yeah, I'm saying to go ahead and take it.
We're going to take out the brick.
Everything out.
Take it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mill and pave
Mill
it.
and pave all the way down.
Yeah, VDOT will do that. I mean, we'll mill and pave the whole road, and we'll come back and we can,
Can you schedule the painting to be, working with the town, so that way we can come and do our imprint and then you paint afterwards?
No, I think Steve is saying that
Has to-
they
has
would
for-
only put crosswalks,
they
or
paint
we
the
would have to
crosswalk.
coordinate.
We're going to paint the crosswalk.
So worst case, we have to come back and we imprint over top of this.
Oh, you eradicate the lines that they put down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what he
exactly.
said. You
I-
just
I think-
eradicate them and put
I
the
think
fresh
then that's the-
stamp on
Yeah.
it.
I mean, if everybody agrees, that's the decision to do then.
Done.
Yep.
So pave
No
up
meeting.
to those?
No.
Pave the whole thing,
Pave-
okay?
pave- pave- pave and put your print down.
Okay.
As long as we're going to imprint the brick
Yeah.
Yeah,
over
we're
it.
going to do the stamp.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you
Okay.
go. That,
I will pass that tomorrow. Now, we keeping our meeting on the 24th, or we
Yes,
going
we'll
17th?
keep that-
Keep it-
right.
Good deal.
Look at all my scratches on
Yeah,
my
I
paper.
think we keep it as it was
And just,
stated.
and as I mentioned earlier, just to bring everybody up to speed, I checked today with my, the monitor, the paving monitor out here, and he said he'll get back with me tomorrow, but it's probably going to be the first part of August before they actually start doing the milling and paving here in the town. They're on Cat Harpin now.
Yeah,
You
okay.
mean the Jefferson, this,
Yep, all of it, Jefferson, Green Hill Crossing, Fayette,
okay.
all the paving that's getting done here in town.
So do we have funding to pay for the imprinting and all of the bricks?
Yes.
Yeah, yes and no. Yeah.
It's a definite maybe.
If the paving happens next year, are you talking next year as in 2020 or next fiscal
Next year, no, next year as far as Washington Boulevard. As we know, Jefferson's getting done
This year.
this year,
So
probably August.
What's the likelihood of it happening after July 1, 2020?
No idea, can't, because we
Budget
But
have
at the
the,
same time, you can't pave unless it's above 40-something degrees.
yeah, I mean, they're not
So-
going to be, we
Till March.
We
At
don't,
least.
we don't start paving till the 1st of May traditionally.
Okay. Even
They
better.
start paving May, and then they're done by,
6 months.
they have to be done by 1 December by contract.
And then we have 6 months, so if we know ahead of time, it's something we could budget for.
Yeah, fiscal year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for Jefferson Street here, then, as of right now, everything comes up,
Yep.
even Jefferson Street. Okay.
Okay. Last things, we need our motion for there.
Are you ready for that?
I think so. So just for clarification, the appropriation was already done? We passed the budget. I thought that we were,
For the original budget, yes, and the town council meeting, and
I know we passed the budget, but I'm just saying appropriated the budget.
yes, the wording is in the resolution, just have to amend the total amount.
Right.
Yeah, so I will,
Already did that.
Okay,
we
just
did,
making
we
sure.
did, she just wants to make sure, and-
Yeah.
and we did.
Okay. Already voted, got our votes on that.
Yes, I have it
All
right in front of me.
Okay.
Now we're
I
ready.
make a motion to appropriate not to exceed $2,500 from the blight enforcement line item for an independent engineering report and feasibility study of moving the structure at 6706 Jefferson Street.
Second?
Motion been second. Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Shannon?
Yes?
Lee?
Yes.
Canty?
Yes.
Edwards? Yes. Grasso?
No.
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. Councilmember time. Councilman Shannon.
We've gone long tonight. Just, I could say the standard things. The things that this town does that sets us apart from so many other small towns, things that like the Stars and Stripes event yesterday, those things set us apart, as well as I could go on and time again, our police department and the professional staff that we have here in this council sets us apart. I'm proud to be a part of it.
Councilman Leak.
Thank you, Mayor. Echo a little bit of Councilman Shannon there. I'm proud and happy to work with each and every one of you at this dais. I know that sometimes things get heated. We get into different topics, different debates based off of things that are on the agenda, but at the end of the day, I'm glad that we can all still be friends and smile and talk afterwards. So I'm proud to work with all of you at this dais. As Councilman Shannon said, Shelley, Emily, Jackie, Corey, can't thank you all enough for putting on an awesome event for Stars and Stripes. What an absolute awesome thing to be able to witness and be a part of yesterday. Can't wait for our summer concert coming up in August. Keep the Aiken family in your thoughts and prayers. They're obviously going through a very tough and hard time. Vice Mayor Aiken, I mean, he gave so many years of dedication to not just the town, but Green Hill Crossing and this community, and we just can't thank him and his family enough. I hope everybody has a safe 4th of July. And lastly, I don't know if everyone knows, but Inside Nova did a Best of Prince William, and one of our very own won law enforcement. So Corey O'Neill, shout out for beating out all the competition. I think even Chief's name was in there, and you beat him out. So way to go, Corey. And Chief, not to say you don't do a good job, bud, you do. But Corey, way to go, way to represent the town, and I look forward to reading that article that's going to come out soon.
Okay. Councilman Panthy.
No.
Vice Mayor?
Great event. Everybody worked hard. That was great yesterday. Really quick, something that we've talked about over the past little while is updating our ordinances on recreational vehicles and commercial vehicles and all that kind of stuff, for not having these huge motor homes in people's driveways and people living in them and all that kind of stuff. So I'd like to see, moving forward, that we get the Planning Commission to update the ordinance for watercraft, recreational vehicles, and commercial vehicles in residential areas.
Okay. It's something I guess we could just pass along to the Planning Commission?
Or just have staff bring you an ordinance, because if it's not part of the zoning ordinance, it doesn't need to go to the Planning Commission. So it could just be something that's, are we talking about public property or private property?
Private property.
Oh, private, then it needs to go to the
Yeah.
Planning Commission.
It's private property.
Okay.
So maybe with no objection, we will direct staff to send that over to the Planning Commission.
Well,
to
you do
look at
need
it.
a resolution of, to refer it.
Oh.
We can,
Or you could do it informally, but, and
no,
then.
but we can
in
do it
piece.
at the continuation
Yep,
meeting. It's
there we go.
fine.
Okay.
I mean,
Another thing for continuation.
okay.
Yeah. Why we continue?
It's quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very simple.
No closed session.
Okay.
Yep.
I have no comment.
Okay. Councilman Day?
Yes, I just want to say that, you know, I truly believe in that, you know, everyone here, the town council and the mayor, have the town of Haymarket's best interest at heart. I believe everyone here works hard to improve and do what's best for Haymarket, whether we agree or disagree. I don't like the comments that somebody is, you know, considered, you know, questionable because of their profession, whether they be a real estate agent or whatever they may. I don't think that's appropriate. Everyone, you know, chooses their profession, and I think everybody up here is doing their very best. And you know, I don't. I just want to say that everyone up here is doing their best to, you know, to improve the town of Haymarket.
Great. Appreciate that. My update, I was tasked to see about getting this building in shape, and we've been running as fast as we can. We had two vendors that we're working with that we're literally probably tomorrow, after we just dissect the two contracts to see which one is the best value for the town, we'll make a decision. As you can see, the other improvements have already started on the outside. The painting has gotten completed with a little bit of touch-up that needs to be done in the front. The air conditioning rework in the back is being done. The electrical rework is being done behind the scenes, and we soon will be able to look back at this building and say, wow, and I think at a fraction of the cost, but yet at least have all those elements that we were looking at from the outside. There again, we're not looking for a new dais. I don't think any of us were ever in that tent. But so with that, yeah, so with a continuation meeting, we actually don't adjourn, if I remember correctly.
That's correct. You
Yeah.
just end the meeting and we'll resume it. You recess until, was it July 24th?
Correct, yes.
6 p.m.
At 6 p.m.
Yes. I think that, did we cover everything? I just want to make sure from staff, not missing anything. See everybody shaking head. Chief, did you have anything to say? I know this is probably the only meeting you've ever been and not said a word. We're good. Okay, great. Yeah, our town's safe, and we're keep doing what you're doing, sir. Okay, thank you all very much, and thank the applicants, too, for coming with your presentation. We really appreciate it. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I can collect them. Oh, actually.